that first episode of Tokyo Ghoul. I heard little inklings about Tokyo Ghoul. I was on the fence, like, I don't know if I should check it out. I don't know if I should give it a try or not. It seems good. I checked out the trailer and I was like, this looks pretty awesome. But this first episode, at first when I was watching it, it was like, alright, starts off and it's pretty interesting. It's like, you got people eating each other, and from what I gather, these are all ghouls and stuff. So I'm like, alright, looks interesting. As the episode progressed, I'm seeing like, okay, it's some wimpy guy and he's on a date, and I'm like, okay, how the fuck is this supposed to relate to the plot in any way? And oh my fucking god, does this shit quickly kick into high gear when he just gets bamboozled by this chick into thinking that she wants him, and she just goes in fucking biting him, and I'm like, oh my god! This was fucking hype as shit. Like, I was not expecting this to be on the level that it is right now. I'm telling you right now, like, this season I was like, okay, we got Akame got killed. That's probably gonna be my number one by far. There's nothing really that is gonna come close, but until I see Akame got killed, as of right now, Tokyo Ghoul is fucking killing it. This first episode is fucking killing it. I was just like thrown into like, yo, how fucking epic is this gonna be? Because first of all, judging from what I can see, a big thing is gonna be within this character. At the very least, is what I'm seeing. I'm looking at it as, because it could change up, but he's gonna be fighting between his ghoul side and his humanity. But one of the interesting things, I know I'm jumping from beginning of the episode to the end of the episode. The end of the episode, when the chick shoves that fucking piece of flesh into his mouth, he could have just spit it out or whatever, but the last thing they do is they give a gulping sound as if he accepted it and he gave into temptation. And I was just like, yeah, this is gonna be one crazy fucking ride. This anime so far, the animation looked beautiful, the art, the story is fucking crazy and intense. I'm loving it right now. I honestly can't say, oh, well, I didn't really. The little bit of the slow pacing when he was on the date and everything was very necessary to throw you off into thinking, like, what is this? What is going on? And then when she attacks him and just, like, gobbles him down, I was just like, oh, my God. Now, the thing about it is, as well, when the girl, all those things fell on top of her, the girl that was trying to eat the main character, I was wondering, like, what's going on, and I'm guessing that the actual person that did that was that girl at the very end that, shoved the flesh in his mouth. I think she's the one that actually, I don't think she was helping him out. She might have been, I don't know, but somebody definitely pushed those things down. It just didn't randomly fall on top of the girl that was trying to, the girl that ultimately was, I believe she was the reason why he became a ghoul, because when they did the surgery and they put some of her organs into him, that's what turned him into a ghoul. Overall, just this first episode blew my fucking expectations out the water. I was thinking, hey, this might be good. This was excellent, and then some. Like, for a first episode, and I rarely do this, if ever, 10 out of 10. 10 out of fucking 10. Exceeded my expectations. I'm like, I didn't think Tokyo Ghoul was going to be this amazing. As of right now, it has, like, the gore of Dead Man Wonderland, the scenery of Akira, and just the intensity of, like, Shiki. Like, the art style kind of reminds me of, like, the anime Shiki, and just some of the lessons from Shiki I can already see rearing its face within it, with, like, darker side of humanity and some of the fucked up things we do and trying to fight off temptation. It's like the main character, he's just going crazy. The voice acting, oh my god, I fucking love the voice acting when he's just there, no, I don't wanna. He's in the middle of Tokyo screaming flesh. Like, my reaction to this is, oh my fucking god, 10 out of 10. I love this first episode. I cannot wait to see how things is going to go down, how things are going to transpire. Is he going to fully give into it and just become a ghoul full time? Is it going to just be a battle constantly, like, should I do this? Is he going to give it up eventually? What's going to happen with that girl with the blue hair? So many questions. What's going on with this whole ghoul epidemic as well? Who's the kingpin of everything? It's like, I got so many questions, and as of right now, I fucking love this first episode. Amazing. Blew my expectations out the water. Tokyo Ghoul might take it this season. I'm waiting for Akame got killed and a couple other things, but I think Tokyo Ghoul is gonna fucking stomp out the competition. This could be the next Titan. I'm just saying, as far as like quality wise, it's fucking there. Let me know what you think. If you've seen Tokyo Ghoul, did you enjoy it? Do you like it? What are you expecting out of it? If you haven't seen it, I'll let you know right now. I highly recommend, based off the first episode, my first impression is at least check out the first episode, because I think you'll be very pleased. If you like violent series with some undertones to it and just overall some crazy suspenseful stuff, you will like this one, because blew my expectations out the water. But that's all I have for this reaction. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. Don't worry, you won't turn into a ghoul if you subscribe. Just saying. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Oh my gosh, this is hands down the best anime this season. Right now, this season is very tough. There's a lot of great things coming out, but nothing is on the level of Tokyo Ghoul right now. On that intensity, on that emotion, on that craziness, that is Tokyo Ghoul. Like, I sat there and I think probably 3 or 4 times I said out loud while watching this episode, I'm fucking loving this. I am fucking loving this anime right now. The progression, the characterization, and just overall the morale of what's going on, the difficulties, the internal struggles that is going on within this character, Kaneki. It's like, it's incredible. So we find out something very odd in this episode, that apparently ghouls, one of the only things that they can digest that wouldn't, taste like shit, that they can, put in their mouth, so to speak, is, well, aside from, of course, humans, that's a given or whatever, coffee. Like, they can drink coffee and it tastes normal, but everything else that they eat tastes like shit. If I was in that situation, I would stack up on coffee beans and I would just go ham, which also makes me wonder, would they be able to eat the coffee beans and would it taste like shit as well? Or how would that work? Although I'd imagine it'd be disgusting eating coffee beans either way, but wouldn't that be like a little loophole right there? And I mean, the episode starts off with that girl kicking the shit out of him, teaching him a lesson like, yo, you need to find yourself, because he basically offends her. He's like, ever since then, it's been, life has been shit. And it's like, you gotta find a medium, and I think that's one of the things that he definitely has to do, because we find out in this episode he's one of a kind. He is the only person in this world that is half ghoul and half human because of those organs and whatnot. He has to find a balance where he can accept what he does and at the same time overall realize who he is at this particular point, because he's still stuck in the mind of, I'm Kaneki, I'm a human, this and that. But he has to realize at the end of the day, there's 2 of him now. He is basically 2 people. He is Kaneki, still the timid, quiet, human guy. But there's also another side of him, and he needs to realize that, and he needs to find a way to channel that urge in a positive light, because, I mean, in this episode, he pulled some berserk fucking slasher smile shit when he was just going crazy, getting ready to eat his own friend. So that's another thing that I feel this character, I want to really see him work on, and hopefully as the series progresses, he won't go into those states anymore, because he was getting ready to eat his own friend, and even the fact that he was about to do that, you could tell that it's already going to hold a lot of weight onto his mind and keep him down. Like, fuck, I was just about to do something atrocious. What is wrong with me? I mean, if he would have ate Hide right there, I think he probably would have killed himself or something. He would have, like, ripped his own head off, because he's such a good person. For him to do that, it would have just crossed the line for him. And I'm curious if that's actually just a manifestation of his hunger and, just overall his ghoul side, that he keeps seeing Rise, the, woman that basically the organs are in him from her. I wonder if that's actually a manifestation of his hunger, like, the way we're getting narrated of what he thinks, like, kind of like, the temptation on one side and the good on the other side. Maybe that's that, or is that actually, like, since he has her organs, like, definitely something very interesting there. But overall, that is just showing the internal struggles yet again that he is having. It's like, I don't want to eat, I don't want to do these things, I'm human, but I really need to eat, and I'm going crazy. The voice actor for Kaneki, I said it last week, I'll say it again. Kaneki's voice actor, oh my god, from when he's getting choked up by that dude that he met last week, he's a great fucking voice actor, and he really puts you in. If it wasn't for the voice acting, some of these scenes wouldn't be as great and as epic, in my opinion, because it just adds that much more to the character. And I'm definitely curious to find out more about Toka as well, the girl with the blue hair, because she really intrigues me. You can definitely see there's a lot to her past, and I want to learn what her life was like as a ghoul, because she basically has been through hell as well, living as a ghoul, but she still has some redeeming qualities. I mean, she did help Kaneki at the end of this episode, so that way he wouldn't eat his own friend. So you can see that there are some good qualities to her. Maybe in the past she had a human friend, and maybe this human friend betrayed her, so maybe that's why she completely went ghoul mode, but there's still some redeeming qualities to her. And this Nishio guy, like, we met him last week, and then we see him this week, and immediately the scene starts off with him banging some chick, and I'm like, goddamn, like, this is how the ghouls get down. And you can see that there's room for progress as a ghoul, because he pretty much blends in with society. I mean, he's an asshole, but he blends in with society. And I mean, there's a lot of assholes in society, so why not, right? I mean, he could blend in. But he's just like a dick. And then what he does to Kaneki and his friend Hide is like, oh my gosh, like, this episode Again, a great one. The only setback I will say, and it's a very small one, very small, is the fact that basically there was censorship. There was a huge amount of censorship in certain scenes, which I was disappointed, but that's not necessarily the material. That's more so, I believe that's for the broadcast. I want to ideally say that's how they're doing it for the broadcast, and when they bring it to us on DVD and Blu-ray, then we'll get, a quality thing without all the censorship. But other than that, the animation, art, music, the opening, oh my gosh, let's talk about that opening, the song, the visuals, the pitch that singer starts off with. It's like, I have nothing but great things to say about Tokyo Ghoul as of right now. Like, when I'm watching an anime and I constantly am telling myself, like, I can't believe how much I'm loving this and enjoying this, I know we found something special. And Tokyo Ghoul right now, episode 2, is just fucking hitting it hard. It's like the action, the internal struggles is giving you everything that you need in an anime to enjoy it and love it, and also giving you quality as well. So you have the kind of philosophical things. You got the internal struggles, you have the action, you have the gore, you have the violence, so people that love that as well. You have art and animation looking beautiful. Music is like, I'm loving this. And you also have progression that Hide heard what's going on. So now Hide's going to know more or less that his friend basically is in a deep jam. And if Hide's a good friend, he'll realize, I need to help him out of this. Hide can be two things. He could either be a straight up dick, which I don't believe that because they've been childhood friends, so they've been friends for a long time. He's not going to do that. Or he can help him out and try the best that he can to help him through the situation, so that way Kaneki won't feel that alone. But I could totally see at some given point Hide dying, and that's going to set Kaneki crazy. And then the fight scene, oh my god, again, when Kaneki was going ham, going crazy, he was like, I'm not going to let you kill my friend. I was like, but then he ultimately becomes a danger to Hide, so it was like it was in vain. That's, again, the fucking both sides of him fighting. And I think the more he uses his powers, the more slowly he'll become less human and more ghoul, I'm guessing. Because when he went straight up ghoul and he was using his powers to fight against Nishio, he looked like he lost his mind. And he was getting ready to eat Hide, so that could be it as well. Overall, just an amazing episode. Progression. Hide knows his secret. Also, yet again, he ate more human because that was the only way they could stop him. They forced him, to eat so he could stop his hunger. So will that affect him as well? Will that get him stronger? Will that make him go more ghoul? Or will that make him slowly but surely lose a little part of him that said, yo, I don't want to eat people. I want to keep my humanity. A lot of questions. Great fucking episode. I'm going to give this one 9.5 out of 10. Taking 0.5 for the censorship, but on the DVD and Blu-ray, hopefully they won't have any of that shit, because it was like Tokyo Ghoul right now is killing the competition, baby. Yeah! But let me know what you thought of Tokyo Ghoul episode 2. Was it as hype as episode 1? It was just about as right there for me. Like, honestly, if it wasn't for the censorship, this would have been another 10 out of 10. It was right there. And the new opening, or the first opening and the ending, everything was just like a home run. Tokyo Ghoul, I really hope continues to be at this quality, because I would love to keep talking about this, because if I do lose interest, I'll probably stop doing reviews and reactions for it if it's just not as exciting as right now. But episode 1 and 2, some of the best episode 1 and 2s I've seen in a long time. So just overall thoughts of it. Did you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it could be the next Attack on Titan? But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That would be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Tokyo Ghoul, baby. Yeah! So this week's episode of Ghoul was definitely the most relaxing of the first 3 episodes. First 2 was very intense and action-packed and very heavy on that stuff. But this week's episode was more so along the lines of giving characterizations, setups, introductions, a little bit of exposition, and world building. So it was definitely giving you a lot of what you need in order to make a story, like, really huge and just have different things going on that is very interesting. So in that regard, it was definitely different from the first 2. For the most part, I think that this episode, one of the main things that it was trying to do, which is very interesting, is give Kaneki some things that he can lose later on, and some things to actually value being somewhat alive. I don't know if you would call him alive, but, to continue going on. It's like, okay, he's making a friendship and a bond with this old man that's kind of showing him the ropes of being a ghoul, and he doesn't even seem that bad, opposed to, like, how other ghouls are. He said, I kind of like humans, So it's giving him that. Also, the introduction with that little girl as well, him kind of having a little bond with her, friendship. So it's kind of giving him not only ties, so that he feels like, I could keep on living. It's like, I'm forming little friendships, I'm forming relationships, but it's also giving him a world in the ghoul world where he can feel like this is my place as well. Because remember, he's struggling with dual identities. It's like he don't know if he's human, he don't know if he's ghoul, and this episode is really pushing him more towards, I'm making friends in the ghoul world. I'm finally, slowly but surely finding my place, and this is how I want to do things. This is how I can survive and continue on to live like this. This was also introducing the fact that the government is cracking down. We have these detectives, which, what the fuck is in that suitcase? Because when he was swiping them down, it's like, I was under the impression that humans really had no way to fight back against the ghouls, but these dudes, they had something where they were like chopping them down, and then they were using the suitcases to fuck up some of the ghouls. And the one with the long white hair, for some reason, I was getting like a really old L vibe. He reminded me of L from Death Note, but like, what if he was really old, and instead of hunting down regular people, he was hunting down ghouls? Except, wait, L wasn't hunting down regular people because Light had the Death Note, but you get what I mean. But I'm glad at the same time that it is posing a threat to the ghouls, so not only do the ghouls have to worry about each other, now the humans are coming for them as well. You know, they have these detectives that they can actually fight back and they can take them down. They weren't pushovers. They were like practically toying around with some of the ghouls, so they're gonna have to go all out when they do fight against these detectives. And if these two detectives alone were able to fuck up a couple of ghouls, just imagine if they had a bunch of suitcases or whatever the fuck they were using to fight the ghouls for a whole task force. So you can see that there's a threat to the ghouls. Not only are the ghouls, like, you know, normal stories is kind of like, oh, you know, the zombies, nobody can fuck with them, and it's just like, be scared of them. And this one, the humans can actually fight back. So it's giving a little twist to the world and how this whole struggle is going to go down. Now, it was a little bit confusing regarding the little girl and her mother and the father, because at first I was thinking, okay, she can't live with her father because he must be a ghoul and she's human, or vice versa. But we find out in this episode that she was ghoul, and I'm guessing the mother's ghoul as well. So is the father human, or is he just like a cannibalistic ghoul? Because they mentioned that there's cannibal ghouls as well, so maybe he'll eat her if they stay with each other. So I was a little bit curious about the relationship, and why is it that she can't live with her father if seemingly he's a ghoul as well and she's a ghoul? Is it because he'll eat her? It's like some questions there. And they were slowly introducing the whole mask thing that we've seen in the intro, where he's having like that black mask, which I can't wait to see him put that on because it's going to make him look sick, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Unfortunately, it's kind of spoiled because the opening has it, but that's probably going to be the mask that he wears. But overall, very chill episode, a good episode for the most part, just a lot of setups and introductions, and it's really giving Kaneki things to actually live for, aside from just living for the human world, but it was also giving him ghoul world things as well. And I was kind of laughing to myself when I saw that Toka was basically saying, if your friend knows about us, I'll kill him on the spot. And little does she know, motherfuckers on to y'all. So yeah, I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. I like where it's going. I like the world building, and I like the characterization we got for some characters. But definitely out of the three, the slowest one, because it really was just kind of giving you a lot of information, building things up, making things intense, and giving Kaneki things that he can lose. He's not at the bottom anymore. It's not that he's just by himself. He has nothing. He's starting to slowly form things, and I honestly could see at some given point either the little girl or the old man, or both of them, dying, and that'll make Kaneki go crazy. And while I found a little bit like a scapegoat at the same time, it does make it a little bit easier for Kaneki if he's eating suicide victims, you know, people that are dead, because if they're dead, at the very least, it's not that he's going and hunting. It's a little less, I guess, fucked up for him, but ultimately I can honestly see him slowly rearing into the point where maybe he won't be viciously hunting people. Maybe he'll go after bad guys and eat bad guys or something like that. But we're seeing the progression of him going from just full on, I'm a human, I don't want to be a ghoul, you know, I've been a human, to he's gonna take baby steps into the ghoul world and eventually be like, you're an asshole? Alright, I'm gonna fucking eat you. But let me know what you thought of the third episode of Ghoul. Were you disappointed? Ultimately, you need episodes like this. You can't just keep having episodes like 1 and 2. As amazing as they were, you need episodes like this to build threats, to build relationships, to make things in the future seem more impactful. Like, if we don't have episodes like this, if the little girl, the old man, or anything else happens in the future, like with these detectives, it's not going to have no value if we don't have episodes setting things up. So you need episodes like this, and overall, it was a good episode, 7 out of 10. Definitely looking forward to more ghoul action, though, with Kaneki going crazy. I mean, when he just let off a little bit of his ghoul powers, when he was falling down that suicide alley, I was like, I can't wait for more. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. This episode, oh my gosh, yet again, Tokyo Ghoul coming back with the uppercut, being beast as ever. Honestly, the only thing I could say about this episode that I felt was a glaring problem
is the pacing, and I'm not a manga reader. I've never read even a single chapter of the manga of Ghoul, and I can tell that this is breezing through content very quickly. Like this episode, we get introduced to this guy, Shu Tsukuyama, and by the end of this episode, we have huge revelations about him, and it just went by really, really quick. Like, they are pulling very fast pacing with this, and I think that overall, Tokyo Ghoul, the anime, the big problem that it's going to ultimately have is that it's going to breeze through a lot of this content very quickly, because other than that, the anime, like this episode, oh my god, the animation was, solid as ever. Just the shit that went down, the action sequences, the suspense, the build-up, this character, Shu Tsukuyama being like a crazy cannibal nut. Fucking awesome episode. So for starters, we're learning a little bit more about Toka and how she seemingly does have some connections in the human world, and it's not just that she's full-on ghoul. She has some sort of friend, maybe she has more, we don't know, but in this episode we get to learn a little bit more about her character as well, that she does treasure her human friends and the human life that she sort of has, I guess you could say, regarding, having friends and stuff like that are human, quite a bit. She treasures it quite a bit, because she even eats this food that she knows is going to fuck her up, because we've already established that if you're a ghoul, you can't eat regular food, and she swallows it full well knowing that it's going to destroy her, and she's in the bathroom there torturing herself, but she's still happy that she did it, because ultimately she treasures this friend. So getting her characterization, like I said before, I kind of suspected it much with the way she was kind of like helping Kaneki and whatnot. She's not that bad of a ghoul. Like, she's seemingly like the old guy at the bar. They actually like humans, and they don't just despise them and look at them as like cattle, so to speak. So I respected that with Toka, and ultimately, like, seeing her down that food, and as soon as I saw her down that, I was immediately like, yeah, this is time for the bathroom, for the toilet, to puke this shit out. And I think definitely Kaneki could take a pointer or two from her with blending in with humanity, even though she's a ghoul, because that's one of the problems that he has right now. So you're seeing that while things is going on and he's going through all these crazy things, there's people around him that can help him blend in with society and deal with this, because Toka looks like she's just fine being with humans for the most part. I mean, she goes a little bit extreme, again, like downing that food, but she blends in pretty well. And then we get the revelation, which this is kind of like a standard in most things where there's like half-breeds and full-breeds and whatnot. Half-breed ghouls are way stronger than full-breed ghouls. And we learn a little bit more about childbirth as well, and kind of like a human and a ghoul can't really connect. They can't fall in love because they'll ultimately die. And from my understanding, it seems as though like the baby will kill the woman, and possibly even kill him as well. That really felt a little bit vague as far as what does it mean that a human and ghoul fall in love, they'll die, and it kind of had something to do with the childbirth. But ultimately, we learn a little bit more about that as well. So can Kaneki not ever get with anybody? Because him being a human, he can't really, be with a ghoul. And him being a ghoul, it's almost as if he is going to have a loveless life, since he is a half-breed. And being a half-breed means he can't be with a ghoul, and he can't be with a human. So does this mean that Kaneki is going to be by himself for the rest of his life? Kaneki, forever alone. Then we also find out a little bit more about Risei's death, as I suspected as well. I'm real good with this for some reason when it comes to Ghoul. I felt as though Risei's death, it just seems weird, like all of a sudden these rods fell on top of her. And getting introduced to Tsukuyama in this episode, I wouldn't be surprised if he had something to do with it. Like, at first I thought Toka, and maybe it still could be Toka, I'm not 100% sure, because she just came at the right time at the same time, but you can see Risei was very popular, and this guy, Tsukuyama, I think this episode was kind of hinting at it. If it wasn't hinting at it, it was definitely throwing us off of somebody else's trail, that he killed her because she didn't want to come to his little crazy dinner party, so to speak. So this could have been revenge for what she did. But at the same time, him being angry over that could mean that he never really got his revenge over Risei. So while it hinted at it, at the same time, I'm kind of like weary. Like, was it really Tsukuyama, or did she have a lot of enemies because she just had this overbearingly, I don't give a fuck personality? And Tsukuyama reminded me of completely Hannibal Lecter with some crazy freaky shit in there. When he takes that napkin of blood and just starts sniffing it and his eyes pop out, I'm like, oh my fucking god. That dude is a freak. And I didn't trust him for a split second from the moment I seen this character. But then when he puts Kaneki in this crazy survival game to try and get, a course meal with this guy, I was like, this is nuts. This episode was freaking crazy, and I loved it. Again, really, I can tell that the pacing is going by ridiculously fast, because it just, started with him, and we already got the shocking revelation of what he was trying to do to Kaneki by the end, and we got through the survival fight game with Kaneki and that big monstrosity-looking motherfucker that he was fighting. So the pacing is very fast. So in that aspect, it wasn't a perfect episode, but just the shit that was going down, the shit that we learned about ghouls in this episode. It was like, I love Tokyo Ghoul. From the moment the opening starts, the episode is just like, this is going to be one hell of a ride. Only 12 episodes in episode 4 already. Again, another crazy one. And it's like, ugh. Little by little, we're noticing that Kaneki is slowly tapping into his ghoul side. He can only do it still, like, you know, at random bursts or when he's really pushed against the wall. But when he's fighting that fucker for a split second, it just all comes out. And he goes from, like, his kick did jack shit till he could push him away. And I'm imagining if he can somehow harness this power and control it, people ain't gonna be able to fuck with him at all. And he ain't gonna ever be put in another situation where he's in like a fucking eating game of cannibals. And Tsukuyama just really interested me in this episode as well, because at first I just thought, okay, he just wants him dead so he can eat him or whatever, but there's a little bit more to him. He's almost as if he's savoring the food, and it kind of reminded me in a way of Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter, where it's like, yeah, the fruit ain't ripe yet. I'm going to let it grow a little bit more, because then it's going to be even more delicious. That's how I kind of felt he was dealing with Kaneki in the end when he rescued him. It's like, I'm going to eat him someday. He's going to be mine, but I want him to be at the best perfection taste. And overall, this was a great episode. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I only took really 1 point away because the pacing is very fast, and sometimes too fast pacing is not the best thing, but as a whole, it was just a great episode, learning so much, characterization, getting the Tsukuyama character that he's just a fucking psychotic creep, and it's like, you need motherfuckers like this to make shit go crazy and interesting, and Tsukuyama is a fucking nut job. Let me know what you guys think. First of all, who do you think killed Risei? Do you think that it was Toka? Do you think it was Tsukuyama for revenge for turning him down? Who do you think did it? And do you think that this episode is kind of hinting that pretty much Kaneki can never be with anyone, because if he loves a human, he's a ghoul. Since he's half ghoul, bam, can't do it. And likewise, vice versa. Do you think that he just, at this point, is forever alone? And just overall thoughts of the episode. Aside from it being a fast-paced episode, a little bit too fast, it was fucking great. And it's like, Tokyo Ghoul right now is just, it's really not doing any wrong for me. It's like, oh my god, it's so on fire. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Toka was one bad bitch this episode of Tokyo Ghoul. The fights in this episode was awesome. A lot of carnage and craziness, but there's a couple things I need to address. First of all, I've been neglecting talking about the censorship, mainly because, first of all, I didn't want to be redundant. It was clear as day that there was going to be a lot of censorship in every episode, and also that's the price you got to pay sometimes when you're watching something weekly. The broadcast, they have to censorship, and when the DVDs and Blu-rays come out, they can get the uncensored version. So that's why mainly I haven't been really mentioning the censorship, even though it's been riddled all over each and every episode. But this episode, my gosh, and I'm not really necessarily counting against it, because again, the uncensored episodes won't be the same like this. But oh my gosh, the amount of censorship, I mean, making the screen go negative at times, putting black, like there was a point where Nishio was on the floor and half of his face was blacked out. Like, that's just unnecessary censorship. So they definitely went way over the top. I don't know if Studio Period, because, you know, at the end of the day, they have a series like Naruto and they have more shonen elements. So I don't know if they feel that they need to do this because the series is just so dark or whatever. But oh my gosh, there's a difference between censorship and just like puking censorship all over the fucking page, and they definitely put a lot of censorship in this one. And again, I don't really want to talk about censorship because at the end of the day I feel it's redundant, but I just had to mention it for this episode because it was like, this was the worst censorship they've done thus far, because it was just all over the episode. Another thing with this episode I definitely got to mention is that the fast pacing in this episode was definitely affecting things, because literally Nishio, about an episode or two ago, was just about to fucking eat Kaneki. He was an asshole. He just looked like a straight up piece of shit. Like, literally like last episode or the episode before. So coming into this episode, the way it's paced, like I'm sure in the manga, there's no way that it is this fast paced, because it just feels like it literally just happened that they had this massive dragged out battle. He was about to fucking get eaten and Kaneki was just like in fear of his life. And then this episode, they're trying to push, no, we know that just happened last episode, but now you should feel bad for Nishio. And getting his past, it felt a little bit, but ultimately, I'm just looking at it like, this needed more time to breathe. I could have felt something for Nishio had we got like a few more episodes of getting to know Nishio a little bit more. Like when he's in the alley getting his ass kicked, it's like, holy shit, this is what this motherfucker gets. Which, by the way, for a second, I thought that he was dead. I don't remember if they mentioned that he was still alive or not, but I thought he was honestly dead after the last time we've seen him. But nonetheless, like, they needed to make me feel it more than just throwing it out there like, hey, he's getting his ass kicked, Kaneki now kind of feels bad, you should feel bad too. They definitely needed to put more emphasis on that, and this needed to be slower paced. It's unfortunate, but definitely with a 12 episode series, these are some of the problems that Plague get. I really wish Ghoul was 24 episodes because animation and art looking beautiful, you know, aside from the censorship. So it was like unfortunate that it's just so fast paced that the turnaround with Nishio, you probably will feel it in the manga, I'd imagine, I'm guessing, but in the anime it's just too close together. I mean, I heard that they've actually skipped an arc or two to get to this point, so yeah, definitely the last time we saw Nishio, we probably would have hated him, but after an arc or so, and then you see him getting his ass kicked and get his backstory, you feel a little bit differently, but coming in straight away after an episode or two, just felt a little bit weird and out of place. Some of the awesome bits of the episode, though, first of all, gotta talk about that Tsukuyama. This guy is a fucking nut job, and I love seeing him be a nut job. He's just one of those train wrecks that you love to look at. You can't look away. It's like, he's taking the knock and he did it again. It's like, he's a fucking freak of nature, and he totally reminds me of just an eccentric ass Hannibal mixed with like Parasite from Hunter x Hunter's like clothing or whatever, but he is just a fucking nut and a psycho, and I love that it's just all about food. Kind of reminds me of Hannibal as well. It's like, he wants to eat Kaneki and that's his fucking meal. You don't fuck with his meal. And what started off as a typical kidnap, okay, I'm gonna kidnap her to lure Kaneki in there, eventually drag Kaneki, Toka, and Nishio over there, turned into he wants to eat Kaneki while Kaneki eats. This guy is a fucking freak of nature, like, in a good way. It's like, this is a fucking interesting villain. The stuff with Nishio and Kimi, for the most part, even with the fast pacing, I kind of understand their relationship a little bit more, and I'm glad that it, in a certain sense, humanized Nishio, and again, I'm using that term loosely because he's a ghoul at the end of the day, but the way they presented the relationship between Nishio and Kimi definitely made it okay. It makes sense why he would kind of trust this girl, and he's had, you know, a hard life as a ghoul. That's definitely a common consensus I've seen thus far with a lot of these people, and why they almost seem as though the ghouls, the reason why they hate humans is because they want to be next to humans to a certain degree. If you notice it, like the pattern with Toka in the beginning of this episode, she's willing to do anything so that this girl can like her, you know, this little girl, whatever, that's her friend. And Nishio, he is pretty much throwing his life on the line against Tsukuyama to have Kimi stay next to him as well. So you definitely see that. It seems as though maybe the ghouls, they hate them because they want to be with them, or they want to be next to them, or they want to be them. And every man needs a girl like Kimi, willing to stick through regardless of what. You may be a fucking ghoul, and I'm still gonna let you even bite my shoulder. I respected that with Kimi. And then that final fight scene, I mean, it was 3v1, which kind of really displays just how fucking strong Tsukuyama is, where you got Toka going up against him, and Toka has to go into that fucking ultimate ghoul mode. I was just like, this is crazy. So it was like, I don't want to say by far that this was anything other than, at the very least, a good episode. It could have been a great and amazing episode had we not had some of these pacing problems, had some of the censorship just really kind of toned down the mood a little bit from it being like up here. And it's like, again, the censorship, you can't really blame it necessarily because we're watching it weekly. That's what happens. But ultimately, it kind of messed with the experience for this particular episode because it was just all over the place. And the fast pacing kind of just made it seem like I might have forgiven Nishio or felt sympathetic towards him had I had more time to get over all the fucked up shit that he was about. So with all that being said, I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. I still felt it was a good episode. There was a lot of awesome action. We did get some progression. We kind of got seemingly that Toka and Kaneki are a little bit more bonded together. We got a little bit more characterization of just how far Toka's willing to go for this friend. So we did get some good stuff in here, but definitely very fast paced, and I'm definitely looking forward to finishing up this anime because while I'm loving it, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to love the manga even more because things like this episode, I'm pretty sure if you pace it better, you'll probably enjoy it more. But let me know what you think. First of all, what do you think about that ultimate form that she had when she went up against Tsukuyama in that final clash that they had? Also, what do you think about Nishio? Do you think that it was a bit too quick for us to already say, like, yeah, you know, Nishio's a cool guy, he's the coolest guy ever? But we won't get into that. I just overall thoughts of the episode, but that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. The feels at the end of this episode, sad shit to say the least. So this episode I kind of divided into a couple different parts because it starts off and we're still in the fight against Tsukiyama, and oh my gosh, Toka, why are you so bad, Toka? Like, Toka's ability, she fucking has these beautiful wings, and I like how it also plays off of her inner, I guess you could say, sort of self-hatred, where she can't see that she's actually beautiful, and when Kimi tells her, you look beautiful, it just makes her go into a state of shock and leave. And I think that just fits so well, that she looks so beautiful, and yet it's ironic as to how she feels. She feels that she's just a monster. I think one of the things about Toka is she probably doesn't like being a ghoul. She probably hates the fact that she's a ghoul, especially with that relationship that she has with that friend. It kind of makes her really just want to be human really badly. So it definitely was a very interesting thing. Not only was it epic as fuck, and I was just like, oh my fucking god, Toka for the win, but it also plays into a very interesting, deep, and psychological effect on her as well. So the beginning of this episode, very fast-paced yet again. Like, I'm not even going to keep being redundant with it at this point. I will just basically say it once in the video, and that's it, because I don't want to keep on going into each and everything. This episode, the two problems that it faces, the last episode's problems and probably every episode's problems, is that it was very fast-paced. It felt like it was going a bit too fast, and ultimately the censorship. But censorship will be cleared up when we get DVDs and Blu-rays, and the fast-paced, there's nothing we can do about it, and I don't want to keep being redundant. So yeah, this episode definitely had those problems as well. But ultimately, like, from the beginning, it was just like, Tsukiyama, I'm gonna miss that dude, I ain't gonna lie. Like, as a villain, he freaked me out. He was weird as shit, and that's what makes a very interesting villain. And to see him go, I was like, why had it be like that? Tsukiyama's like, oh my god, and when he was just going like, oh, let me just get a bite, I was like, Tsukiyama, you're such a freak, but I still love you, man. I'm gonna miss you. And while I still feel that it was way too quick of a switch for Nishio to go from like, I want to rip his fucking head off, to feeling bad for him, ultimately, one of the things that he stands for within this episode, and the relationship that he has with Kimi, definitely plays into the overall theme of what I feel Tokyo Ghoul is about as well. And that's, can ghouls and humans unite and actually be one and have relationships like that? And they're definitely the poster boys for what could be done as far as ghouls and humans and what they could ultimately achieve at some given point. So definitely a lot of symbolism and a lot of things that happened in this episode I felt like overall was symbolic to things of the theme of this series, and just ultimately the division between humans. And a lot of times, to be honest with you, it's very simple. It's not even, you know, if you take out the supernatural stuff, the fantasy stuff of all their humans and their ghouls, ultimately a lot of times people are just scared of the unknown, and that's why the humans feel they need to get rid of the ghouls. Of course, the ghouls, don't get me wrong, if they can get rid of the BS of having to eat people that are alive and attacking them, like similar to what Kaneki and his group do, they don't actually attack live humans. They get like people that committed suicide, which is still, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not right to eat someone's dead body, especially if they have loved ones. But ultimately, if they can get to a point where they don't need to eat live humans, then maybe humans can at some given point be, you know, one with the ghouls, and they can live in harmony and all that peaceful shit. But I definitely say that this episode had a lot of symbolism regarding that, the first half anyway. And then now having Nishio on the side of the good, again, it just feels so weird. It's like, I just hated you 2 episodes ago, and I'm now supposed to feel bad for you and feel like, oh yeah, he's part of the good guys now, woo, woo, woo. It's like, Nishio, I still think you're kind of like a dick over all of it. Still feel kind of bad, but I'm just saying. But to me, the highlight of this episode, while that was amazing as hell, I think the emotional aspect of what went down at the end of this episode, and just overall the stuff that we finally find out regarding the mother, the daughter, and the father, it was just like, that was some sad stuff. The feels, oh, my feels. I was like, yo, because first of all, so we finally find out in this episode what it was, why they had to be separated. And basically the father was kind of like, I guess, not necessarily enslaved, more like oppressed by this Jason dude or whatever, so he had to keep them away for the time being. But then to see that he died and everything, it was just like, I hate seeing a family, you know, broken apart by circumstances, especially with a lot of things that went down in this episode, because he died thinking of his family, and that was sad. But then it just keeps getting worse, because it's like, little girl wants to see her father, and the shit that went down at the end with the motherfuckers with those briefcases, like, something very interesting with them, though. You could definitely tell that those briefcases, the things that are inside them and shit like that, and their tools and everything that they're using, it definitely has something to do with ghouls. I believe that what it is basically they're dissecting the ghouls and taking all their weaponry and making weapons out of them, and that's how they're fighting. And that's probably why the little girl was like, I smell daddy, because they probably either already made a weapon of him. It could be that she just smelled that, you know, they just killed him not that long ago, so maybe they have the blood of him on them or something. But it could be that they already turned him into a weapon, which in that case is like, you sick motherfuckers. It's like, this is a classic case, and it reminds me of a series like Shiki. Is like, who are the monsters? The fucking actual zombies and vampires, or humanity? When humanity can be this fucked up, like they're just slaughtering families, not giving a fuck about any feelings, you gotta take into consideration, like, yeah, maybe the fucking people, the ghouls, are actually the good guys in this scenario, because not all ghouls are the same, and that's one of the things that they need to further investigate as well. Not every ghoul is going to be the same. Not every ghoul is wanting to kill humans, but they're just on some let's slaughter the whole bit, and that's what really makes it all fucked up, and it makes me look at, like, I'm sympathizing with the ghouls here. These guys are assholes. And just the ending when she had to sacrifice herself to save her daughter, and her daughter went running looking for Kaneki. I'm really hoping that Kaneki goes up against these fuckers and lets loose, and we just get some crazy massacre, because the ending of this episode, the feels was so much there, and it's like, even with all the fast pacing, I still felt like this episode did its job, and it was a very good episode. It was like, it had, once again, those same problems that Ghoul has been having, but it was just like, the feels, the epicness, it's like, Tokyo Ghoul, baby. Like, I'm loving the series. It's so fucking awesome. It's like, yeah, I really feel fucking bad that Tsukiyama's gone. I was like, this guy is so crazy and I love it. But ultimately, he had to bite the big one, and it served to develop Toka as a character because of what happened with Kimi, telling her that she's pretty, and her kind of just having this fucking inner turmoil within herself. So we got that, and then the end of this episode, the separation, finding out more about the relationship with the dad. It was all around just a very good episode. Really enjoyed it. Wish the pacing wasn't like this, but it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. First of all, favorite scene of the episode was the sadness at the end, the epicness at the beginning. Also, for the people that are anime only viewers, are you like myself that you're gonna check out the manga afterward? Because I am 100% sure once this anime ends, I'm going back and I'm reading the manga from the beginning so I can actually get all the context of what's going on, because I've been just hearing so many different things of they're skipping, they're going back and forth, and I'm just looking forward to seeing this in its truest form. But are you going to do the same? Just your overall thoughts of this episode. It was like, my feels, I can't take it, mate. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Motto, he is a fucking dick. Seriously. And why is he wielding around Renji's Zabimaru from Bleach? Like, what the fuck? This episode, it starts off from where it last left off, which it was inevitable. It was going to be a tragic outcome. And ultimately, Hinami's mom bit the big one. And it's like, I understand when a motherfucker like the previous Nishio, you know, Nishio's turned over a new leaf, but I can understand when a ghoul like the old Nishio that was an asshole that killed people and didn't give a shit, you know, go after him or whatever with full force, not giving a shit. But when you're going against a woman with a child that it's clear as day there's some sort of relation there, you know, whatnot, and you're just full force beheading right there in the middle of the street, it's like, oh my gosh, this Motto guy, I really hope they kick him out of, you know, his task force or whatever, because it's like, at the end of the day, look what he's doing. He's like the only one that doesn't give a fuck. He loses a crewmate, dies, and he's like, you know, he don't give a shit. He's like, what? Yeah, I'm not gonna show up. I don't give a fuck. No, I just want to stroke my new sword, my Zabimaru. It's like, really, bro? Motto? Asshole. So this week's episode, it kicked off with Hinami's mom, you know, biting big one and whatnot. Don't want to be redundant about it, but oh my gosh, with that censoring stuff, please, I hope that's not censored out on the Blu-rays, because that wasn't even that negative shit or, you know, kind of panning off. It just completely went off of the scene and you just see blood pouring down. I really hope that that wasn't like total censorship altogether. I hope we actually get to see a little bit more of that in the actual, you know, DVDs and Blu-rays or whatever when they come out. But that was just such a fucking tragic death for one of the decent ghouls. It's like, if you're gonna go after the fucked up ghouls that don't give a fuck about killing people or whatever, then so be it. But oh my gosh, it's like you went after a not innocent, but for the most part, pretty decent person. And Motto doesn't even look at them as like anything next to human. He looks at them as complete animals, which just goes to show how fucked up Motto is. And if anything, he's the animal, and goes back to my discussion last week, like, you know, comparing it to Shiki, where it's almost as if the humans are more monster-like than the actual creatures. You can see that Motto is, for the most part, the biggest dick, I think. Like, some of the other people on his team, for example, they were actually really sad when one of their comrades died. You got Amon there not feeling good. You got a lot of these people actually genuinely feeling sad for their own people. So I think the biggest asshole of them all is Motto. I really hope at some given point that they take him out. Like with the setup that we had at the end of this episode, I'm really looking forward to next week seeing him getting his ass kicked really bad and begging for his life because he's a piece of shit. This episode also served in character development for Kaneki because not only did he had to witness this and try to shield Hinami from this, he realized he can't stand on the sidelines. He's still on the whole fence of killing people. He's kind of like, I'm not going to kill, but I will help out with Toka against, the inspectors or whatnot. But at least we got some character development where he's like, I'm not going to be on the sidelines anymore. And I was really glad at the end of the episode we finally got to see him don the mask, which I can't wait to see what that's going to do and how crazy he's going to get when he puts that shit on because he looked like a psycho when he had that on. I was real curious after Toka flipped out, which, by the way, they definitely looked down on her, especially like the butler guy. You can see that he was really disappointed in what she did, attacking the doves and whatnot. But ultimately, I was curious, how the hell did she find out their location and exactly who it was she was looking for? The location, it could possibly be explained that they already know because they're not hiding. The inspectors aren't in a hidden location, but how she knew exactly who it was that she needed to look for, I don't know if they skipped over that and probably the manga actually showed that. That was one thing that kind of had me a little bit curious, and I was just kind of like, is she psychic? And when she attacked them, I was just thinking like, this bitch is crazy. And Mato shows up with his Zabi Maru like, what are you doing, bitch? I was just like, this is insane. And you could definitely see that the Doves, they have a real fighting chance. Again, it almost feels as though the ghouls are oppressed by the Doves because the fucking inspectors are there like whipping their asses. When have we seen, aside from her quick little swift attack without them knowing it, when have we seen them go full force against one of these Doves that actually have their weapons and actually come out on top? We haven't seen any of the ghouls do that. So I really feel like the message here is sometimes, and I said it last week, I'll say it again, sometimes humanity can be the bigger monster than the actual monsters we're calling monsters. So that definitely keeps being implied, especially with a piece of shit like Mato in this episode. And overall, this was a good setup. This episode, it started off beheading, crazy shit, and then it just kind of was setting things up and kind of giving a different perspective on things. This time seeing the inspectors and how they grieve when they lose, and kind of seeing that they're not all pieces of shit like Mato. Mato's the fucking poster boy for dickwads, but ultimately they're not all bad. So this was a good episode for the most part. I enjoyed it. I felt it did a couple different things, and ultimately it just really showed that Mato is a piece of shit. And just seeing Toka trying to struggle with what happened and kind of coming to terms with it, but at the same time still wanting revenge, it kind of makes you wonder, is Kaneki in the right for backing Toka? Because the butler guy was just disgusting. He's like, no, we already discussed this. You weren't supposed to do that. So you can definitely see it. It kind of makes you wonder, is Kaneki in the right with siding with Toka and saying he's going to help her? Definitely makes you question a couple things. But again, good episode. I'm going to give this one 7.5 out of 10. It was good setup and ultimately giving a little bit more character development to Kaneki. And just the beginning of this episode, it was like, it was so crazy, but the censorship, and I hate to keep bringing it up because I was promising myself I wasn't going to bring it up, but it's like, I really hope that it's not a permanent censorship because it just completely went off camera and all we saw was blood, which still had an impact, but yeah. But let me know what you thought of this episode on a scale of 1 through 10. How much do you hate this motherfucker Mato with his Zabi Maru? It's like, I want to strangle that bastard. He's such an asshole. Also, Kaneki with the mask. What do you think? Do you think that he looked beast? Just overall thoughts. This episode was a good episode, and it's just really focusing on character development and giving different perspectives, not only on the ghouls, but on the humans as well and what they're dealing with on their lives. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Yes, these are the fucking episodes I'm talking about. Why Tokyo Ghoul is awesome as shit. This episode, absolutely awesome in every which way. The animation, the music, the voice acting, the progression, the action sequences. It was like, this is how you execute something properly. Like, fuck the censorship, whatever, it fucking happened, but ultimately, oh my gosh, yes, that Tokyo Ghoul, this episode at the very least deserves it. It deserves it to say Tokyo Ghoul greatness. So for the most part, this episode was action-centric. It had 2 different fights going on, and it was kind of like a plan, seemingly, with Toka and Kaneki basically having them split up so that way they can fight them on their own accord. And I would like how they were kind of strategic about it, how basically Toka had Mato in that little small circle so that way he couldn't really use that Zabi Maru wannabe shit. And then at the same time, he also had Kaneki fighting outside so kind of he can try his best to convey his ideas and his feelings regarding just humanity and ghouls in general to Amon. And the way they separated them, it was just very smart again. And ultimately, just the two different fights that were going on, it was really in an interesting way showing the different perspectives, and again, kind of driving home the whole theme of this show. And once again, you know, that's basically who's the true monster, and we could coincide and we could be one if we just stop the bullshit. On one hand, you got Amon kind of trying to say, yo, you guys are the ones, you guys are wrong. And then on the other side, you got Toka telling the humans. So it was like back and forth, both of them kind of just showing the different perspectives on what they think of each other. And ultimately, if you look at it, they're both thinking the same things. You guys are the danger. You guys are the one fucking up. And you can see that Kaneki's really the only one, since he has both worlds inside of him, that can really see the bigger picture, that everyone fucking sucks. At the end of the day, hate everyone equally. The Kaneki versus Amon fight, it was like, yo, he took an ass whipping. And I didn't really want to call it too much of a fight. I mean, he did fuck him up in the end when he started biting the shit out of him. And we heard Risei's voice, which really got me curious. Like, what the fuck is that up about? Like, I would like that it's more so a mental thing with him. I don't want Risei necessarily to be actually inside of Kaneki's body and kind of come out of him and say, hey, I'm alive. And all of a sudden Risei, I don't know, comes out of his body or some weird shit. Like, I would like it that is more of a psychological thing. That's the inner ghoul of him that kind of activates. And when he was going full force against Amon and he had like all those tails coming out of him, I don't give a fuck what anyone said. Totally reminded me of like back in the day when Naruto would lose control and all the Kyuubi tails would come out. It was just epic as fuck. The animation again just looked absolutely amazing. These are those episodes that like, you like, okay, you know, you want to check out a good action series with some awesome stuff. Look at this. Look at this episode. You can see there was more development with Kaneki as far as his powers go, because while he was still trying desperately to overcome them, he had a little bit more control than before. Like back when he first, you know, activated these things, ultimately you could see that he was kind of struggling, but now he really was having it more down packed while he was still trying to struggle to not ultimately lose himself. He still was like nonetheless having a grasp over the power. So you can see that there's a little bit of development with him as well, except in the end when he just kind of like lost it and stabbed that motherfucker Yomo. And I love the sweet redemption for Hinami, but still it kind of being a Pyrrhic victory with Mato ultimately dying. But at the same time they find out, especially Toka, this played a big role in Toka's character because she sees that Mato was married. Now that leaves open interpretation. First of all, was Mato currently married? Did his wife die? Maybe she succumbed to some sort of ghoul attack or something. It makes you question a lot of different things regarding Mato. Who the fuck would marry this nut job? Or is he only a nut job because of the ghouls? Did the murder of his wife? Like, there's so many different questions you can ask about Mato. I kind of had a little bit of a chuckle, though, while I was watching the episode, when at first I thought he got beheaded and it was censored out because there was just so much black everywhere all over the screen. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? And he keeps on, I will not die. And then he, like, it looks like he faints, and then it's like, oh, he's dead. I swear I won't die. I felt like Austin Powers for a moment when he was like, why won't you die? You could also see that in this episode, Kaneki's actions are definitely going to take a toll and ultimately have some sort of development with the coexistence between ghouls and humans, because Amon was like, why did this ghoul save me? And he was crying, and his words, I think, definitely are going to weigh in with Amon at the very least. And Amon can't totally, even if he takes in what Kaneki was trying to tell him, he can't totally take it in and, like, you know, change the world or everything, but this could be the spark. This could be the small start of a change with humanity and ghouls. And as a whole, phenomenal episode. I'm giving this one 10 out of 10. It had everything you would want: progression, epic action, death. It was just like, oh my god, so many things went down, and the development and kind of fucking with the psyche of these characters, with Toka having to deal with, I just killed a human that was married. He probably had loved ones that actually cared about him. What's up with that? It was like so many different things. The redemption for Hinami, seeing Hinami's powers in the back, it was like they just did it so fucking right, so well. It's like the moment the final episode of Tokyo Ghoul airs, I am going straight into that manga. I don't know if I'm going to review it. I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead, but I know for damn sure that I'm going to start over from the beginning with the manga the moment episode 12 finishes. You can best believe that. And yeah, absolutely amazing masterpiece of an episode. 10 out of 10. Oh my god, I loved it so much. This is like one of those episodes where I'm like, ugh. Let me know what you thought of this episode. First of all, what do you think about Kaneki versus Amon? Again, I use versus loosely because a lot of it was Kaneki just taking an ass whooping, similar to like Hunter x Hunter when Gon was getting his ass kicked in the arc to rescue Kitawa by the butler. It was like, I'm going to show you my resolve, and I want you to understand what I'm trying to say, even if I got to get my fucking ass destroyed in the process. And what do you think about Toka's growth in this episode as well? That is kind of showing like this is taking a toll. Everything that's going on continuously is adding to her grief and her frustrations of being a ghoul. And Mado's death, did you see that coming? I honestly was surprised. I was like, I thought Mado was gonna last a long time into the series, so to see him die early is like, fuck. And just your overall thoughts again. Amazing episode. Absolutely loved it. Incredible. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld. And as always, people, have an awesome day. Tokyo Ghoul for the motherfucking win. Okay, Rise must have had the bomb-ass pussy. Cause the way motherfuckers is after this chick, it is like, yo, they just want them some Rise. Like, how many people is after her? How many people know this chick? It's like, god damn, Rise, you got around, didn't ya? So more of a setup episode this week with Tokyo Ghoul. We got a little bit of the backstory of Mado, learning that he wasn't a complete piece of shit, and he did care somewhat about his colleagues. I wish we would have got a little bit more context, and I'm hoping that there's still more to Mado than meets the eye, because it's kind of weird how in this flashback, when Amon first joined, he actually seemingly looked a little bit nicer, and ultimately we find out after the flashback that he was proud of Amon and he did care about him, but he never really showed it. I mean, he never went to one of his colleagues' funeral. He just acted like a complete dick to everyone. So it really makes you wonder just what the fuck is going on. I hope we dive even further into Mado's backstory and find out what is it that fucking just made him go nuts and act like the nut job that he is. I mean, he looked, again, a little bit more of a nicer person. I don't know. It's like Mado, something happened to his family or something really fucked up, because he's just like, what's going on, Mado? Why did you hide your feelings to the very end? And it seems like a lot of the ghouls might have been scared or something of Mado, or, you know, their task force in general, because now people are really like starting to dive in there, and they're going into the 20th ward and they're going after Rise, which again, it makes me wonder, like, first of all, why is this chick so goddamn popular amongst ghouls? She must have been, first of all, one of the most fucked up bitches, and that's probably why Kaneki is so goddamn strong. You can obviously tell Kaneki has some incredible strength in him. Even though he hasn't gone full force yet, you can tell that there's something in Kaneki that's going to be absolutely ridiculously strong. But Rise must have had a lot of fucking power, because it's probably her, and that's probably why everybody's after her. So many people know about her. It's like, god damn, like, what was up with this chick? I definitely want a nice, good chunk of a flashback finding out about Rise. And it looks like a war is brewing between that task force and all of the fucking ghouls, because they're gonna go in there full throttle. And it's making me wonder, did Amon not learn anything from Kaneki? Because I'm hoping that he takes some of what Kaneki did and the ass whooping he took and everything and applies himself and actually shows that maybe we can make a difference. Because if not, then it's like all the events of what happened in last week's episode, what Kaneki did, was for nothing. I'm really hoping that Amon in this task force and in this war against the ghouls uses those lessons and says, okay, if we don't have to kill them, maybe we can capture them, maybe we can arrest them, maybe we can do something a little bit different. And then we get what I can only describe as the wretched egg from Dead Man Wonderland in this episode, fucking pickpockets Kaneki. And you see, like, there's like red lines all over this dude or chick. I don't know what the fuck that was. And it's making me think, is this just tattoos on that person? Did that person get all cut up like Kaneki and had a surgery? Is this a ghoul? Is this a human? I'm guessing it's ghoul. Maybe, just throwing it out there, it could be a half-breed or some shit. I don't fucking know, because the person did get Kaneki's identity and also was kind of saying something about smell and whatnot, so it's making me interested. I'm guessing that this is ghoul, but maybe, who knows, maybe it could be a half-breed or some shit. Maybe this could be some really fucked up individual, even worse shape than Kaneki was. In this episode, we also dived into Toka's backstory. I was like, holy shit, because up to this particular point, I thought Toka was like fucking shitted out, and then like she was just, I don't know, in the slums all her fucking life as a ghoul. But we find out that she had a little bit more of a nicer life when she was younger. She had a brother, she had a father. What the fuck went wrong? It was like, first of all, was she a ghoul all her life? I think she said she was a ghoul all her life. So when they were kids, was she already a ghoul? Or is that just something that she tells people because it's like she feels like her life has been shit from the beginning? And then within the episode, we get the revelation that that guy is actually her brother, and he's working with Jason. And I can already tell that Jason is definitely going to be a very big figure. I I could possibly see either Toka's brother or Jason being the final villain of the upcoming arc, because it's like, while Jason, he's been built up and everything, Toka's brother looks like he has a vengeance, so to speak, and it makes you wonder just what it is. Does he want to kill Toka? Does he miss Toka? Have they been separated and they don't even know that they're alive? What's up with that? And overall, very good setup and transition episode this week, getting a lot of backstory, getting some progression, getting some good setups. I felt this was a very good episode of Ghoul. I'm going to give this one 8 out of 10. A little bit on the slower side compared to things, and it was light on the action. Don't always need action to make a very good episode. And yeah, getting some backstory on Toka is like, I want to know more about her life, and I also want to know more about Moto's. Like, I'm glad that Moto, his death is seemingly holding a lot of weight onto Toka, and it's not just, oh, well, I forgot about it. She's actually really stressing over him being a family man. Imagine that ring was just something he got from like a brothel. That would be fucking hilarious, but wrong. And yeah, 8 out of 10, very good episode, but let me know what you guys think. What did you think about the twist in the episode with Toka's brother? Do you think she's going to have to clash against him? Also, do you think that either him or Jason is going to be the final villain of the upcoming arc? And what do you thought of this episode in general? But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that would be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. The ass whipping that Kaneki took from Jason in this episode, oh my gosh. This was one of the few times where I was like, I'm kind of glad the censorship is in place, whether it's permanent or temporary until the Blu-rays, because Jesus Christ, he just kept on smash, smash, smash. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You're gonna kill this kid. Rule number 1 in Tokyo Ghoul, don't fuck with Jason. So a lot of setup in this week's episode of Tokyo Ghoul, getting to learn a little bit more about certain characters. And overall, from the get-go, it starts off and you're thinking like, okay, who the fuck is this Banjo dude? We've heard a little bit about him. We've seen a little bit of inklings here or there. But getting more into his character, he's kind of like one of those people that a dog with a loud bark, but kind of not too much bite, so to speak. Because first of all, he was like, where's Rise? And then Toga's like, yo, drink this coffee and shut up. And he's like, okay. So you can definitely see his character is a dog with a large bark but no bite. And I don't want to say no bite because maybe he might kick some major ass. Maybe he's kind of like a Kuwabara type of character where he's like, oh, I don't give a shit, real loud, but at the same time goofy and kind of has like, a funny charm to him, so to speak. But yeah, then Jason comes in and Toka's brother, and he wasn't really getting too into it. So you can definitely see that he's not the strongest dude by far, at the very least, from what we can gather based off his character in this episode. And he's also like really loud, but at the same time, he has goodness in him because he even apologizes to Kaneki after trying to punch him and shit. So yeah, he's not that bad of a guy. He actually seems like a pretty decent dude. But Jason and Ayato, when they come in first, oh my gosh, Jason, what he did to Kaneki in this episode, I'm surprised Kaneki's not dead. I mean, the amount of smashing that he did to this dude's face, that's enough to fuck your teeth up, fucking caving your head. I was just like, how is Kaneki not dead? And that also shows exactly why people fear Jason. This is the reason why people don't fuck with Jason, because if you look at this episode, motherfucker was ruthless, strong, and insane. We find out a little bit more of that Suzuya Juto character. I believe that's his name, Suzuya, something like that. At first I thought that was a chick, then we find out it's a dude, so it's kind of one of those trap type of characters. But we find out that basically this is seemingly a character that's working on the side of good. Very strange voice actor, really enjoying the voice, has a very weird, odd voice to it, but at the same time it's kind of like funny, so it's one of those type of characters. And for some reason that character and his situation for some reason reminds me of Dead Man Wonderland. I don't know why, maybe it's because of the cuts and everything, kind of reminded me of the Wretched Egg or whatnot, but definitely reminds me of Dead Man Wonderland, that character, and at the same time has that weird vibe to him, and it's like, what the fuck is up with this dude? Now maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but when Toka went in for Jason and Ayato jumped in the way and stopped her, you can definitely see that Ayato, he's a confused type of person as far as where he wants to be on the side of good or bad, or wherever that side may be for that matter. But I think more so, he wasn't stopping her because like, yo, get away from my master. He was probably stopping her because this is my sister. I don't want her to get fucking annihilated by this monster. So I'm going to pretend and play the role like get away from him. But in actuality, I'm more so saving her. And the fact that they actually get reunited. So seemingly they did know of each other, that they were both alive and whatnot. And they're reunited. And you can see that the brother has some sort of grudge against the father, kind of like talking down about him and whatnot. So I would like to get a little bit more of Toka's backstory. But with the fast pacing that we're doing with this anime, and only a couple more episodes to go. I doubt we're really going to get much of that, which is unfortunate. And again, another huge reason why I'm going into the manga once we finish that 12th episode. A little bit more advancement regarding Amon, and you can definitely see, and I'm glad that it's sticking, the character development that he's obtained from his fight with Kaneki. It's kind of sticking in his mind, and now that he also inherited the power from Mado, he's definitely going to have an upper hand against these people, but it's going to be a fucking all-out war. A huge setup in this episode for an all-out war between the Dobes and this group Aogiri Tree, because there's some monsters. I mean, once again with this whole Rise shit, like, what the fuck is up with Rise, where this dude is looking for her, and you could tell that he kind of like had a thing for her when he was about to beat the fuck out of Kaneki over Rise. So yeah, once again, Rise got around. And with Kaneki being kidnapped, the old dude shows up along with Yomo, and they're gonna go out for their search. Now, I'm really starting to think that the old dude, which forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he has probably a lot of power within him, because if he's like, yo, we're setting up the group, we're going out there, while he knows that he's not probably as strong as Jason, you can definitely see at the very least he has a decent amount of power to even attempt to go out there and get Kaneki back. And I'm respecting that. He's like, we're closing down the shop, we're going to war. So it's going to be basically a tri-battle between, you got the Dobes, the fucking, police, the task force, you have Aogiri Tree, and then you have these dudes that are going to go and try to get Kaneki back. So Royal Rumble up in the Bronx, baby. But the twist that threw me off the most was the end of the episode where Sukeyama is back and he never died. I honestly thought that it was a fatal blow. So either that was a mishap on the censorship bit, basically they censored it out so we couldn't tell if that was a fatal blow or not, or it was meant to be that way, so when he does come back, it's a huge surprise. So we got Crazy Hannibal back, and he's like, I will be the only one to eat that fucking extra special dish. And with all that being said, good setup episode. Crazy fucking ass whipping from Jason to Kaneki. He just fucking destroyed him. And overall setting up for what's going to be a massive brawl in the next couple episodes of Tokyo Ghoul. And I'm really excited to see how it all goes down. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode though. What did you think about the fucking ass kicking that Kaneki took? What did you think about the setup for this tri-battle? Also, what do you think about that little fucking kid? Well, he's not a little kid. He's actually 19, but he's really weird, the Suzuya guy. What do you think about his role that's going to be played in the next couple episodes? You definitely see the fast pacing, because like Nishio barely says a line anymore, and like now he's like, oh yeah, I'll join. So you can definitely see the fast pacing taking effect into the story. But again, overall, I'm excited to see what's going to happen, and this tri-battle is looking very promising. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I have to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that would be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Did anyone else think when Banjo was asking Kaneki, are you alright? Is there anything I could do? Don't worry, I'm going to help you out. Kaneki was going to reply, yeah, man, I've been strapped to this chair for a while now. I've been shitting on myself. You mind wiping my ass for me? My gosh, the torture that this guy is sustaining at the hands of Jason. Fuck. So with this week's episode, I feel as though some of the stuff with Jason and finding out his backstory of how he's not even actually, his name ain't Jason. Basically, this is a persona he came up with when he was tortured back in the day, and that was something that he kind of mentally had to create to, I don't know if it was to sustain himself, or I don't know what it was, but it was basically a result of the torture that he sustained when he was, I guess, a little bit younger or whatnot, or back in the day, and he came up with this psychotic persona, and that's why he's a nut job right now. And I definitely feel as though that was kind of foreshadowing for the future events with Kaneki, because at the end of this episode, it's no secret, I think everyone that's seen the opening, and we've been, hearing whispers of this white-haired Kaneki, and you see at the end the little tip of Kaneki's white hair, and I think that the whole thing with Jason was setting up for that. That was kind of explaining what happened with Jason and what happens with ghouls when they go that much stress, I'm guessing, when they get tortured that much. So definitely a very interesting foreshadowing from Jason's events and kind of who Jason is. It's showing that Jason is doing this because he's so fucked up, and you know what they say, the hurt people back. So he was hurt and tortured and everything, and that's why he does this shit. Except Kaneki, when he comes out, I can't wait to see what he's gonna do. And this episode was all out mayhem. You got the Dobes attacking the Aogiri base. You got to see a little bit of an example of the Quinque that Model left behind for Amon, and that shit looked beastly as hell. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, oh my gosh, when at first it's like some giant axe and then it splits into some dual wielding swords. It was looking beast as fuck, and it really just shows as well that Model's character wasn't there for nothing. It definitely played a big part, and it's starting to look like Amon has a very big role in not just, the anime, but in the series, because definitely, you know, the manga continues after where the anime is going to leave off. And it's showing that he left behind a lot of things, Mato in particular, for Amon, but also Amon getting the best of both worlds. He had somebody that seemingly hated ghouls, Mato, but then he also had a ghoul that was like, you know, I don't hate, you know, people. I want to have everyone live together and everyone act normal and shit like that. So I think that Amon is going to be a pillar, a big pillar in bridging the gap between humans and ghouls, because definitely you see in this episode, he's kind of like still thinking about what Kaneki said. So it's looking more and more like Amon is going to have a very pivotal role in the entirety of the story. Okay, what the fuck is up with Nishio basically being a human punching bag? Like, in this episode, he gets shitted on again. I remember when we first seen Nishio, I was like, this guy is a fucking monster. He's an asshole. And then we thought that we got rid of him after a certain point. Then he came back. And as of a while now, it just seems again like he's a human punching bag. Like this episode, he takes it into the back. And I'm like, oh my god, Nishio, I had such high hopes for you. But as of this moment, I'm like, yeah, I don't expect anything more from Nishio. I don't know if it's the anime that's doing that, or if that's just how he's portrayed in the manga, but he started off so beastly, and now he's just every time getting fucked up and thrown to the side. And a bunch of setups in this episode. We got Toka versus Ayato, which I'm really looking forward to seeing it, and it makes me wonder, just what is Ayato's grudge that is so strong against his sister and against his father? What is it really why he hates them so much? Because he looks like he has a devilish look in his eye. Last week, I thought that he really wanted to protect her, and that's why he jumped in front of Jason so she wouldn't go up against Jason and he would just immediately kill her. But this week's episode is like, bro, is it that you just wanted the honors of killing your sister yourself? Like, the fuck? And you even got that nut job, I think his name is Juza, the kid with all the red all around him, fucking crashing into the building. It was just on some die-hard nut job shit between the Dobes and the Aogiri. I was like, oh my god, action heavy with fucking crazy intensity and moving forward in an epic way. But the one that got me the most interested is the one-eyed owl. When pretty much the Dobes were going up against him, I was like, I want to see more of this one-eyed owl, because you can see that his powers look like they're fucking crazy and everyone is scared. So major setup in that aspect as well. It's like, this dude is looking like he's going to be a monster. And I'm like, how are we going to cover? Like, one of the things I will say about this episode is you can definitely see the fast pacing. You got the fast pacing and the censorship. The censorship obviously will be cleared up in the Blu-rays, but it did feel noticeable yet again in this episode. A lot of censorship, and just the pacing was outrageously fast in this episode. And I'm like, with all these major setups, all of this is going to have to be covered in one episode, because next week is the finale of Tokyo Ghoul anime. So definitely kind of got me a little bit scared. Are they going to be able to pull it all off with white-haired Kaneki, the one-eyed owl? Like, so many things. Toka versus Ayato. There's a lot of things that they need to cover next episode, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. And again, that teaser at the end with Kaneki with the white hair, well, seemingly Kaneki seeing that white hair, I'm fucking excited. Overall, this episode, very good one this week. Major setups, major plays, major progression. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. I'm going to give this one 8.5 out of 10. I don't know how they're going to pull off all of this in next week's episode, but regardless of what, yet again, I'm using this how pretty much they present it. And for me, this is an amazing trailer to going and checking out the manga, because right after next week's episode, I'm going into that manga. Again, I'm still not sure if I'm going to review the manga afterward, but I know for sure I'm going to be reading, and I hope a lot of you are as well, because this anime is like, this is hands down probably my favorite of the season. It's between this and Akame Got Killed, but oh my gosh, it's just so much fucking insanity, and I love it. But let me know what you thought of the episode. First of all, what do you think about the foreshadowing with Jason creating that other persona to kind of pacify himself in order to, you know, continue going, with it being a foreshadowing to what Kaneki seemingly is going through? Also, what do you think about all the big plays, the one-eyed owl? Like, so much shit going down in this episode. What do you think about all of it? And your overall thoughts? Do you think that they're going to be able to pull this off next week with all the setups that we had in this week's episode? Like, are they going to do all these fights in one episode? Only time will tell, I guess, right? But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that would be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Oh my fucking god. That episode of Tokyo Ghoul, that's like, hands down, you cannot do a better finale than that. You can't. The psychological trauma just of watching that episode, I'm not gonna lie, I've never, out of the entire, I don't even know how many years of me watching anime, I've never had an experience of watching an anime like I had while watching this episode. The carnage that Kaneki sustained at the hands of Jason, what he had to endure, the pain, the psychological trauma, everything that this episode brought forth, the development, everything about it was absolutely remarkable. Now, I know there's going to be manga readers that are going to say the manga did it this way and this and that and that and this. I don't care. I think that, if anything, you should separate the two as two different experiences entirely. The manga is this way, the anime is this way, because the way they presented the material and the way it was done, it was just outstanding. I mean, honestly, it was just truly remarkable. When that song came in, the opening, which is probably going to be one of my all-time favorite openings, period. When that song came on, it was just like hell breaks loose. I love it when an anime does the full OST of a song. They do the full track and just have it with the actual fight. That fight was brutal. And to be honest with you, this episode, the artistic value of what it did, showing the mental state of Kaneki and how we were going back in time to basically when he was younger. It was just really displaying this character's mental trauma and how everything that he's been through in this series even dates back further to things that happened previously in his childhood. So it just really added everything together with this character, diving more into who he is as a person, some of the regrets he has, kind of everything that's holding him back throughout all of his life, the restraints and the torture that he was sustaining at the hands of Jason is what made him finally snap. Like, we're seeing him being tortured like severely in real life, but in his head as well, he's going through it. And when he finally gave in and he started eating Rize, I was like, oh my fucking god. And then the fight, that godlike fight with Jason where he lets loose. I think the problems that we all had with Kaneki, as far as like, you know, he's a Shinji, he's a bitch, he's a Tsunayoshi Sawada, he just keeps crying, he's scared all the time, everything freaks him out. You needed something like that, because if you didn't have that, if you didn't have Kaneki be such a weak person, when you get an episode like this with all that development, all that build up, all of this character finally letting loose, taking off the restraints, it wouldn't have been as shocking. It would have just been like, okay, so Kaneki's finally stepping up again. Like, this had so much more of an impact because of who Kaneki has been the entire series. Everything that we've seen throughout this journey, him letting loose of all that, saying, you know what, I'm tired of basically being the bitch. I'm tired of life throwing me under the fucking bus. I'm fighting back. And when he let loose white-haired Kaneki for the motherfucking win, Kaneki with the black hair, yeah, he's a bitch, he cries and everything. White-haired Kaneki, manly as fuck, beast as fuck, and overall, this episode was absolutely outstanding. I know people are gonna say, the manga did it, whatever. I don't care. Once again, I'm reading the manga right now. I started. I'm not that far into it. I'm like, I think 20, 30 chapters in or so, but the anime is just an entirely different experience. Exclude the two of them, and you will absolutely adore this series, especially this finale. I mean, I couldn't have thought of a better finale myself, and it was just so nerve-wracking while watching this episode, just seeing the torture. I've never seen anything like that, and I've never experienced a feeling like that while watching an episode, just seeing the mental anguish and the physical anguish of what Jason was doing to him, torturing him, making him have to choose to who is gonna survive between these two people. It was outstanding. Honestly, it was just remarkable, and I love this series. This is hands down gonna go down my favorite series of this season. This finale solidified it totally, completely. I was just on the edge of my seat the entire time, and it was remarkable. It was outstanding. I loved it. I highly recommend anybody go watch Tokyo Ghoul right now. You will not be disappointed. It is fucking amazing. Very fast-paced, but absolutely like an incredible journey and an incredible adventure to see this guy Kaneki, what he goes through in this episode. It was too much for me. I'm going right now, and I'm going to read more of that manga. And for the people that wanted me to review the manga, I was actually really considering it. I know the manga has ended with chapter 143, but I'm hearing rumors that maybe in October, there's going to be some sort of announcement, and it could potentially be a sequel manga. I guarantee you, if there is a sequel manga to Tokyo Ghoul, I will be reviewing every single chapter. I can guarantee you that, people, but we just got to play it by ear right now. Again, this finale, this episode, it was amazing, and I loved seeing Kaneki's transformation from kind of having life take him down, you know, everything, seeing his mother die, overworking herself for her shitty sister. All of those things really built up, and the anger finally let loose, and sometimes you just gotta kick ass and not let the fucking world bring you down. And with all that being said, again, magnificent episode. Couldn't have done it better myself. Couldn't have thought of anything to improve on this episode, because when Kaneki was just flipping the fuck out and making Jason count backwards, and seeing that final progression of him accepting, I am part ghoul, and even going to that state of basically cannibalizing Jason, It's fucking insane. It's insane. Tokyo Ghoul for the motherfucking win, baby. I don't think I'm gonna see an anime that gets me this excited almost each and every week for a long time. In this fashion, for that matter, because it was just something else. But let me know what you thought of this finale. What did you think? Did you get them chills and them shivers when that song came on? It was insane. I'm fucking going crazy right now. And your overall thoughts of Kaneki as a character? Did he impress you at the end, going white-haired and beating the living fuck out of Jason and making him submit to his will and basically saying, fuck the world, I'm taking control now, I'm Kaneki Ken, and I'm a beast? And your overall thoughts of this finale? I'm gonna miss reviewing Tokyo Ghoul anime. This has been a real fucking pleasure and a treat. Hopefully we get a sequel manga so I can talk about that weekly, because I will be down as a motherfucker. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say, or enjoyed the video, or enjoyed this season of Tokyo Ghoul, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that would be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, Tokyo Ghoul for the motherfucking win. I love this anime.
The long-awaited Season 2 of Tokyo Ghoul has finally been blessed upon us. We finally got in Episode 1 of Tokyo Ghoul Route A, and I'm not gonna lie, I was just dying of excitement just to get it, because, I mean, at the end of the day, white-hair Kaneki is the motherfucking truth, the beast of all beasts. But let's jump into it, because we're gonna talk about it all. We're gonna talk about it all, the opening, the ending, everything. We're gonna talk about it, people. Now, for starters, the opening, I knew coming into this that regardless of what, it just wasn't going to measure up to Unravel. And let me explain, opening 1 of Tokyo Ghoul Season 1, or just the opening in general of Season 1, that is one of my favorite of all time openings. I listen to that opening almost every day. So that speaks volumes. So I was not going to come in here and compare it to that, because there's no comparisons. However, I just did not really feel it. I mean, it was just a picture of Kaneki, and as it went on, like, he, like, cried a tear of blood, which it looks alright, I guess, the picture itself, but for an opening, especially when you're coming from something that is practically an iconic opening, it's on the road to becoming iconic, Unravel, and you come to this, it's like, even without the comparisons, just as an opening, standalone, it just didn't do it for me at all, the song or the visual. I mean, the visual looked cool, but it's an opening. You're supposed to have things moving around and everything, and it's just like a still picture. I don't know if maybe Sui Ishida just wanted to do something artful, because I do know that he had quite a bit of input on certain aspects. And as far as the ending goes, I like the ending song definitely hell of a lot more than I like the opening song. The visual is cool, and I actually heard that the visuals for the ending were drawn by Sui Ishida himself, so that's pretty fucking cool. But just in comparison to the opening and ending of Season 1, they just don't. They don't in any which way, in any form. So there's that. And when, the opening plays and the ending plays, I will just continue to play Unravel. Now with this, it almost feels as though this was, instead of Season 2, it was Core 2, meaning that, like, oh, we took like a few month break and then we're back at it, instead of, like, a whole different season, because it literally picks up where it left off, like literally in the between fights with things going on or whatever. So it didn't feel as though this is like a whole new season, like new events, everything. It was like picks up from where the last one left off. Like, in all honesty, we should have had this as episode 13 of the original Tokyo Ghoul, but then again, this is kind of going its own route, which I gotta say, for the first 12 minutes or so, it was canon for the most part. Everything was like, okay, this happened in the manga, that happened in the manga. Some of it was a little bit switched around, the events or whatever, but ultimately the first 12 minutes or so of this episode was from the manga. So good stuff there. But I came into this knowing from all the spoilers I heard and everything that this was going to go its own route after some given point, and it's been a lot of miscommunications as to what this was going to be about. So the first 12 minutes or so was basically like, okay, it happened in the manga. Now, one of the pivotal moments that I got to talk about right here was where Kaneki and Toka are alone, and it's like, okay, what the hell is going on? Like, she's trying to talk to him. You could definitely see that at this particular point, Toka's not a dumb girl by any means. I mean, we've seen that a big part of her is like, a scholastic side, that she wants to do the school stuff or whatever. It's almost as if she already knows, upon seeing him with the white hair and the look in his eyes and everything, he's completely different. And that is almost her first words is basically almost a plea, like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to change your hair and everything when you come back to Anteku, because at this point she already knows. I think she's already has a clear indication of this guy is completely different now. That's her, like, you're gonna stay, right, basically. And when he says, no, I'm gonna go join Aogiri, first of all, a lot of suspense building with this episode, a lot of things was just like,
what the fuck? Who is this shadowed out? Why is he joining Aogiri? Who's this little girl that keeps popping up all around? What the hell is going on? So it's definitely raising a lot of questions. It's like, what the fuck? But the way they did that scene, because in the manga it was different, and I'm not going to give too many spoilers away because I do want everybody possible that is interested in the manga to go read that bad boy, because the Tokyo Ghoul manga is amazing, insane. But the scene, the way they depicted it in the anime, and especially since they're going a different route with it, they made it more romantic. They made it more just Toka and Kaneki having a conversation, and when he was going away, mwah, to the OST. The best song in the entirety of this episode. Fuck the opening and ending or whatever. The best song was the song that was playing while the ash or snow, whatever the hell that was. I think that was ash. I might be mistaken. That might have been snow or whatever, because I think it actually went well with the lyrics as well. The song was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And it kind of played a really good part in showcasing just like, Toka's like, you're leaving me? You know, so it showcases that they actually did grow a bond and they obtained a connection with each other. So with him leaving, it's like, not only is it just him leaving like, oh shit, you know, I started to like him, whatever. That's also the change in Kaneki. You're seeing him, in a way, turning his back on his humanity, because his humanity wanted him to be next to Toka. He was getting into being with Toka and, you know, just being around her and starting to form bonds and whatnot. And him turning his back is symbolically him basically saying, I'm a ghoul now. This is what I gotta do. But let's backtrack a little bit. The whole scene where Ayato's torturing Toka, I'm glad seemingly no censorship. Really fucking good, because censorship was killing it. But I saw the blood. I saw him biting into her and everything. So seemingly no censorship, and that was gory as fuck. It was like, Ayato, you fucking animal. Why are you doing that to my Toka? I want to kill you, bro. But something that they took out, which I'm really disappointed. And I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, the manga 100 times better. Like, as far as the fights go, all of these fights, whatever, they rushed them and kind of wrapped them up really, really quickly. The manga did all that better, but we don't need to do that, because we already know we're going to have 8 million people in the comments doing that. So, yeah, we get it. The manga did it. The one scene that I'm disappointed mainly, the 103 bones. And again, because I don't want to spoil anything for the manga readers, I will just say that some really epic shit happens where Kaneki and Ayato fight, and something amazing was supposed to happen that was skipped out. Now, maybe at the end of the season, they'll bring it back and make it so a way that they could connect the end of this season to whatever the hell they want to do, you know, like connected to the manga or something, I don't know, maybe, or whatever, because they skipped out on a very epic scene that I really thought was going to happen based on how the info was coming out, because it's just been a hell zone trying to figure out what the hell Tokyo Ghoul Route A was going to be about. But I'm guessing Route A is Route Aogiri. That's what I'm guessing the A stands for in Tokyo Ghoul Route A, because it's like, yeah, he's going with Aogiri. But just, yeah, I was disappointed because that scene was supposed to be so amazing, although I am glad they kept in the scene of, shut up, I'm talking. Like, that's when you know Kaneki is like, motherfucker, I'm a beast, bro, I'm a beast. And I know this is random, but did anyone else feel like you were looking at Kakashi Sensei for a second when he had the mask on? I was like, Kaka Sensei! And when Noro came, I was like, Noro, fuck you, man. You just interrupted something, bro. Noro, eat a dick! We also got a little bit of that Shinohara. Again, this is one of the faults of the anime. They didn't really talk much about Shinohara in season 1 or whatever. They didn't get much of his characterization. I don't even know if he was mentioned, to be honest with you, but we got a little bit of him in the Kakuja armor, kind of having this fight with One-Eyed or whatever. You can see that One-Eyed is a fucking beast. He is just blowing them back. So you can definitely see the level of skill that this one person has. Just imagine if there was more ghouls like that. If there was more ghouls like that, they would have a hell of a problem. But definitely, as far as art, animation, all of that was really beautiful. I definitely noticed that the coloring seemed a little bit brighter, maybe. The color palette that they used, it seemed a little bit brighter. I don't know if they did that since they're not going to be censoring much or something, but I definitely felt like the colors were a little bit brighter in this episode opposed to like a lot of the stuff that we saw in season 1. And then a couple of extra mysteries as well, because again, I felt like this episode was building up a lot of suspense. Like, who the hell was that little girl that was like, you know, or little boy, we don't even know what the hell that is. We don't know what the hell that is. And back at Kaneki, was that the reason why he joined the Aogiri? How did that happen? I think we need a little bit more exposition into that. What was it that made him join? And did he get an invitation? Was that the invitation? What's up with that? Also, we had somebody shadowed out with 2 girls there. So another big suspenseful moment that was set up there. And then we had some clowns saying we get the last laugh. Manga readers, you know how I feel right now. I will say that and leave it alone. And in all honesty, a very good first episode. I mean, it doesn't feel like season 2. It honestly feels like core 2 again, like just picking right up where we left off or whatever. But for what it was worth, it was like,
Yeah, like I'm going to treat the anime as its own experience. I'm not going to keep on comparing it to the manga. There were a couple bits that I feel they rushed out and missed out on completely. Tsukiyama's fight, we should have had more of that. 103 Bones, we definitely should have had that, no questions asked. So they did skip out on shit, but as far as just for what its own thing that it's basically become, Route A, so to speak, it was pretty fucking good. It was pretty fucking good. I just loved seeing Kaneki going in and the complete change of his characterization from who he was to who he is now. That character development is fucking real. And again, I mean, as a hard fan, I would say I'm a hardcore Tokyo Ghoul fan. I definitely felt that some of the essence and some of the presence of the manga was in there, even though we're going our own way. But let me know what you guys thought of the premiere. We've been waiting. It's like an event right now. It's like, did you feel it? Manga readers, are you still really upset? I get it. They skipped out on stuff for this one. But from here on out, they might be having some stuff from the manga here and there. But for the most part, I think after this episode, we can completely just say, fuck everything. This is his own thing. Let's see what happens from here. And just your overall thoughts. It's like, I ain't gonna lie. I really wish the opening was Unravel. They should have just kept Unravel flat out. Especially the opening that we got is just no. But as a whole, just Tokyo fucking Ghoul Route A. Let's keep on going, baby. That's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. White-haired Kaneki is back, and he is ready to kick some ass, baby. Let's go, Route 8! So in case you don't know, the studio that handles Tokyo Ghoul is called Period. Now, they've done Naruto Shippuden, Bleach, Beelzebub. They've done some different anime. And after this episode, it definitely had me wondering, will Period have the last laugh? Manga readers are like, ooh, you know what I did. So this episode of Tokyo Ghoul Route A has me a little bit puzzled because it is implementing certain aspects that has happened in the manga after the Aogiri little mini war, whatever that happened, but then at the same time is also going its own way. So I think this was the concept and overall ideas that originally were going to happen. I think some of the manga was in his mind. Some of the characters that were supposed to be introduced were introduced, but ultimately some of where Kaneki's road went was basically altered. That was what he originally wanted to do, and that's what I think is going to happen. I think we can expect for manga readers and people in general to see certain aspects from the manga. It's just going to be different and, kind of its own way or whatever, because this is what Suishida wanted to do. So it's interesting because Akira Amado was actually introduced in the manga, so that's a character from the manga, and I was actually really happy to see her. You see her basically being the new partner to Amon, and that kind of makes an interesting dynamic because he was her father's original partner, so to see her teamed up with him is going to be exciting. And there's little lines of dialogue that is straight from the manga, like when she was calculating the amount of time that it takes or whatever to say all these greetings and everything, so just fuck all that pleasantry shit and let's work on, the investigation. That's like straight out of the manga. So again, we can expect certain aspects at the very least to be from the manga. I also noticed that they're making this character Shinohara very relevant and very prevalent in the anime in Route A, because he looks like he's like the head guy for the most part of, some of the smaller operations or whatever, and he's like very prevalent. I think that he's going to have a pretty big role, and I noticed it's almost as if while Amon is still a key player, he's not as relevant as he would have been had we went straight through the manga, and it's more so, I think Shinohara is taking a little bit of that screen time that Amon would have had, because I think Amon, while he's still relevant, he has been downplayed slightly because the dynamics of his relationship with Kaneki has been altered a bit, because in the manga, the role that Kaneki takes is different from what he's doing right now, which I was a little bit like, oh man, I want to see more of that Kaneki, because we see him in this episode. It's like, you got a little glimpse of him here, and Ayato's like, yo, we gotta go. A little glimpse of him there, and Ayato yet again is like, yo, Ayato, can you stop cock blocking for like 10 seconds, bro? We want to see some of our boy. What's going on? And it looks as though Aogiri is making moves. Like, while we're not seeing the progression, it is happening little by little, and I think this episode more so focused on the progression side of things with the investigators. We get to see Mato was introduced. She's the new partner to Amon. The war is brewing slowly with Aogiri. They're planning, so we got a little bit of progression there as far as they go, but we're not really seeing what's going on with the ghouls, and I definitely want within the next few episodes to more so look at what's going on with Kaneki, because right now we still have a million questions. Why did he join Aogiri tree? What are they doing? What is their ultimate goal? Who is the little girl seemingly in the bandages and everything? So there's a lot of questions that are going on. Who is those two mysterious girls that keep on showing up and back? I mean, from what I know from the manga, I can't be 100% sure that I even actually know, because it might be different. So there's a lot of questions that are looming over my head right now. And we also got a little bit more of Tokyo. You could definitely see that she wants to kind of live a normal life, and she really hates the fact that humans look at ghouls that way, because at the end of the day, she knows she is a ghoul. So when she's in the hallway and she hears them saying, why don't just ghouls fucking die, and all this other shit, it really hurts her, because she just wants to live in normalcy, and she already has that bad complex about herself, which I hate when you see like a pretty girl, or, you know, even in real life for that matter, when you see a pretty girl and they feel like they're ugly, it's like, baby, just come into my arms. I will say there was one point where they got a little bit lazy with the animation, where Amon was listening to Akira talk or whatever, and he's just like a still shot for a good like 10-15 seconds. I was like, what the fuck? This is Tokyo Ghoul, bro. Like, don't do that. And aside from that, it was a good episode, more so chill, and I sometimes forget, like, I shouldn't really compare this to the original Tokyo Ghoul, because the original Tokyo Ghoul, the first 2 episodes were dynamite, impactful, crazy as hell. The first episode was, you know, it was the introduction and everything of, I'm talking about Route A now. The first episode was kind of crazy, whatever. This one was more so slow, kind of building up, giving a lot of exposition as to what's going on right now, the circumstances. So it wasn't that crazy or anything, and I definitely want to focus more on Kaneki, but it's building up the inspector side, and I really hope, because for me personally, enjoyment-wise, critics aside or whatever, enjoyment-wise, I more so love it when it's on the ghoul side of things and what's going on. I'm not a big fan of the inspector stuff. And yeah, it's just kind of having me puzzled, and it's really interesting that Sui Ishida, what he's doing right now, he's making not only anime-onlys kind of have the suspense, but he's making us manga readers as well, because we don't know what's changed, we don't know what's staying, what's going, whatever. It's like we get a line here or there straight from the manga, and then we get something totally different. So I'm excited about that. Overall, good episode for the most part, maybe a 7 to a 7.5 for this one. Not too much. It was just mainly slow exposition and just kind of understanding what the situation is right now. Some characters are getting more spotlight, like Shinohara. I think Amon is still getting his spotlight, but it's a little downplayed more in this adaptation. And yeah, it's just something unique. I just really want to get more to that Kaneki stuff. Like, why the fuck? So many questions I have right now. What is going on? Who was that girl at the end? Because I have my suspicions, but again, I can't even trust what I know from the manga. And yeah, let me know your overall thoughts of the episode. Are you confused? Is there something you don't know? If you're wondering right now, should you read the manga, I absolutely 150% implore you, go read the manga from the very beginning, because not only are they changing things or whatever, I feel like the manga's experience is something in and of itself that you should witness. Especially since they're changing things, I definitely say go read the manga. Just read it all and enjoy yourself, and then come back and see what they're doing differently, because it is something different. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. What's 1,000 minus 7? Okay, flat out the best scene in this episode, I honestly felt, was the Tsukiyama scene. When that dude showed up, that nut job, I was just like, I was dying laughing. I was laughing out loud. And normally, like, I don't really do that in like most, you know, scenarios or whatever, but I was dying, and that made the episode for me way much better than I ultimately was looking at it at first. You see him, the return with Banjo and everything, like, yeah. So the beginning of this episode opened up really fucking hype. It was hectic. You got Kaneki and Ayato busting Naki out of jail. It was like, yo, this is some crazy ass shit. So it started off really action packed, and I was like, this is the Tokyo Ghoul that everybody signed up for. We want to see that craziness and everything. And just the art and animation in this episode looked way better than last week's episode. Like, last week's episode, very simplistic and, you know, just kind of stiff, and the art didn't look too good. This week, the art was back on top, and I was like, hell motherfucking yeah. So art and animation in this episode definitely looking crisp and clean. Some of the scenes, especially when Kaneki was going in, I was like, damn. And yet again, this episode was mixing some of the stuff that happened in the manga with some original content and things that we didn't see in the manga. So I, again, can expect certain aspects of the manga to make its way into here. I don't know exactly what, but judging from what they're doing, it's mixing some, you know, manga stuff and everything. And it's just like, wow, even small, like, things like a line or two here or there, they're actually putting in there. So it's not completely, you know, an alternate route. It's basically, again, Sui Ishida's initial draft of what he wanted to do. And I think they're just connecting the dots from point A to point point B. Because a lot of this episode is definitely exposition filled, and I know some people get turned off by that. I mean, it's not the most interesting, to be honest with you. Some of it does get a little bit like, oh, because, you know, you see Toka, she's like walking around, she's really just depressed over Kaneki leaving. Understandable at the end of the day, but then you get like Hide and the conversation she has with him, and that was actually from the manga, by the way, which is pretty fucking cool that they, again, are keeping some of the aspects from the manga in there. But yeah, a lot of it was just really exposition driven, kind of showcasing a little bit of the characterization, and sometimes it stands out that, yeah, this is anime only material because it just feels very dialogue heavy and just kind of just giving us, again, exposition, but it isn't the most interesting some of the time. And I mean, is it just me, or does it feel like Nishiki or Nishio's character has changed a lot? I mean, yeah, he's not completely like, you know, a bad piece of shit in the manga either, but like, it just feels as though Nishio, what happened to the asshole? Like, he's not really almost nothing like he was back then, and people don't just change dramatically. Like, where he's like, hey, let's go to college, and, you know, shit like that. It's like, Nishio, like, Kimi must be giving it to you good. And then that nut job Juzo getting Jason, like, that is so fucked up, honestly, that what Jason basically become. He went from a nut job, which, to be honest with you, I don't get how Naki was so depressed and miserable missing him and shit like that. Like, what qualities about him would make you, like, give enough of a fuck to be crying there like that? But regardless of what, we got an upgrade with Juzo now. He got the Jason, like, fucking psyched and shit like that, so we got some epicness going on there. And again, it was just a lot of small progression with exposition with this episode. I think the beginning of this episode was awesome. Pretty much everything in the middle was just kind of like, you know, draggish a little bit, explaining things, getting a little bit of like what's going on with these characters, and then the ending was epic. And something very interesting, because they're changing things up, so I don't know, it could be totally different from the manga or whatever, but when Hidemi went to meet the, you know, favorite author of Kaneki or whatever, and she went to get him that gift, the signing and whatnot, it was very interesting the way the character was acting compared to the one in the bandages. There was even a certain line, Kaneki Ken, that obviously anybody would have bring that, you know, caught that, would have easily put two and two together, whatever. Now, I'm not saying that that is the same character, and again, certain aspects of what we know from the manga has been changed, so who knows, but it definitely feels as though it's foreshadowing that way, to be honest with you, because it's just kind of like a little odd and a little strange. But at the same time, again, things are different from the manga, so I don't really know. But either way, the foreshadowing is clearly there. And you can see while Kaneki has changed a lot, he's like, you know, just fucking shit up, not giving a rat's ass about anything. Some of who he used to be is still in there, because he was pitting Naki a little bit at the end of the day. And when he wrote out Yamori or whatever, he was like, you can see he's not completely a piece of shit. And I think that we need, in the next couple episodes, some explanations. I think that it's already been too long, even though it's only been 3 episodes, but remember, it's going to be 12 episodes, which I wish it was 24, but that's besides the point. We need explanations. We need to know, why is he with Aogiri? What is his goal? What's up with these mysteries? There's just so much mystery, and we're not really getting any answers. We're just getting, like, exposition regarding the inspectors and shit like that, and Toka going to college. Like, that's not what we need or really want right now. We want more of that Kaneki. Give us more reasoning and what's going on. Who are these two ghouls that seemingly are half-breeds as well? There's a lot of questions, but we're not really getting any answers. And again, we're already, what, a fourth of the way through the series? So yeah. And then, like I said, the whole scene with Tsukiyama showing up, oh my gosh, just bringing him back into the fold, already fucking awesome shit. And seeing Banjo as well kind of makes you wonder, like, how long will it be until they reunite with Kaneki? And what is Kaneki going to do when they do reunite? Is he going to just, like, fight them? Or how is he going to act? I mean, I honestly think that somewhere in there, the real Kaneki that we care about is. It's just like, he's surrounded by a lot of shit, and sometimes you gotta do fucked up shit to get where you need to go. And then a little cliffhanger with Kaneki and Ayato seemingly in front of like a prison to break someone out or something. So overall, this episode, again, like I said, awesome beginning. The middle was very exposition heavy and just kind of like characters not doing too much. And then the ending was epic. Middle should have been a little bit more exciting, whatever. But nonetheless, it was still a good episode. Leaning between a 7 to a 7.5 for this episode. It was good. Again, I think we need less exposition, more revelation. That's one of the big things I was saying. Honestly, more focus on Kaneki, less focus on, like, Toka wants to go to school. And it's interesting because in the manga, again, a lot of those aspects were in there as well, but it was less clear on that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, why is Tsuyoshida just not giving Toka that screen time? But I'm starting to understand why, because it's just not the most interesting thing. It's just some girl going to college and being depressed that her not really boyfriend isn't there for her. So I get why he skipped it in the manga, and while it's adding more substance to the character and giving us, oh shit, so this is what's going on with Toka, at the end of the day, it just kind of feels a little sluggish. But I'm really excited to see more of that Kaneki, him fucking going in with Ayato. It's so weird seeing them working together. I'm more excited about that though. The Tsukiyama stuff as well, is like, he wants that Kaneki. And yeah, good episode. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, though. Did it feel a little too sluggish for you? What do you think is going on? Any anime-only viewers that are kind of, or people in general, because again, things have been changed so much. What do you think? Is that the same person that under the bandages that was like the author or whatever, or is it something completely different? Did they change it? What are your thoughts? But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you do so as well, that'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. This episode of Tokyo Ghoul A, probably one of the best episodes since the first episode, because it just kicked major ass, some interesting exposition and insight into a couple of characters, and overall, we finally got the reasoning as to what made Kaneki join Aogiri Tree. Very simple and straightforward, and again, having some inklings of connection to the manga, but yet at the same time doing its own thing. This episode just kicked major fucking ass, honestly. The action, just the suspense, everything about it was kicking ass. So we got the invasion of the prison while Akira and Amon were actually in there. Now, getting a little bit more into Amon's backstory, finding a little bit more about him, it kind of gives a stronger bond and a stronger meaning to what has happened between him and Kaneki, and unfortunately the anime doesn't give that much into their bond, I guess you would say, or I don't know necessarily bond, but their overall understanding of one another, because yeah, bond is the wrong word. It's an understanding that they have, that they both want to do something similar, but they're going around it with different methods and whatnot. But when you find out about his past, Amon, and that he was basically raised by a ghoul, and he kind of has like this weird, you can see that there's some sort of weird connection that he has to him, because at the end of the day, maybe he did care for this guy like a father, and he couldn't let that go. The fact that he found out he was a ghoul, and why did he only let him survive? Did he love him? Did he care for him? So a lot of questions run through Amon's mind, and then when he met Kaneki, it kind of all makes sense that, you know, Kaneki had this weird thing where it was like a mix between human and ghoul, and he feels like a certain way regarding that, so that made, in my opinion, the understanding that they have even much stronger, and just where they're at mentally, I think. And it's crazy because they're not even on screen half the time, 90% of the time. You don't see them together, but yeah, they're stronger than ever. And it gotta kind of make you wonder, what type of connections does that old dude have for Amon to go in there and kind of think, yeah, he knows about Aogiri Tree, he knows about a lot of things, I want to get this information. Well, if he's behind prison, how the fuck would he know any of this? How would he get any of this intel? So it gotta kind of make you wonder about this old guy, Donatella, I believe it's Donatella. Where is he getting this info? How is he doing it when he's in a maximum security prison? You see, they're going underground and everything. Like, he was in the depths of the depths. So something very interesting about that guy as well. And you could argue maybe a little bit of a plot device as far as like, this is the information guy, but at the same time it's like, yeah, something is up here. Now, I will say that the animation was kind of a little bit stiff. The art looked pretty good for the most part, but the animation, a lot of sequences was a little bit like sluggish or whatnot, but just everything that was going down. I mean, first of all, huge progression into this invasion into the prison already, and it's interesting for me looking at this because as a manga reader, and I'm not counting this or whatever, I'm just kind of, I want to give a little example of what I'm talking about, my insight and how I feel when I'm watching this. When I'm watching this and I see certain aspects from the manga, it just feels weird to see it going on in a different context, in a different type of setting, and a different type of way of how it was done, because some of the things that happened in this episode was from the manga. Again, the person that Kaneki was fighting, Kamishiro, he was from the manga as well, but the way things went about was a little bit different. So when I'm watching it, it just feels a little bit bizarre sometimes, and I think a lot of manga readers will agree with me that it just feels a little bit like that. But I mean, it was just fucking ass-kicking action, and the way it was done with, like, you know, that they're invading the prison and you have all these crazy strong ghouls and everything, it just made it that much more intense. And the biggest thing about it that I really liked is the way we get the explanation and the exposition as to why has Kaneki been doing this. Why did he join Aogiri Tree and everything? To protect everyone. That he wants to protect everyone, plain and simple, and is like, so he went into the depths of the shadows, kind of like on some Itachi type of shit. He went to the criminal organization so that from the inside he can, you know, kind of guard his people and help his people out. So I respect that to the fullest. And I mean, the shit that was going on at the end of this episode, I'm trying so hard not to spoil, because I'm sure it's going to go for the most part the route of some of the aspects of what happened in the manga with the transformation that Kaneki's going through. But it was just so fucking badass. The fact that he couldn't even defeat this guy and is kind of morphing him, it was insane, and the dude was just fucking him up. I was like, yeah, that shows the main character ain't gonna beast on everybody like they're nothing. Like, he's gonna need a lot more if he wants to save his friends and, you know, basically do what he set out to do in the beginning, and that's kind of bridge this gap between ghouls and humanity. And then once again, that bandaged, you know, Aogiri Tree member, which I think at this particular point
for the most part, all the manga readers already assume they know who that is, and I think it was kind of pretty heavily foreshadowed who it was in the anime as well. Just fucking reveal who that is. Just reveal the identity of that bandaged person, because, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all know who it is. And at the same time, like, this character is doing certain things, like, you know, promising to show fucking Rize to this Kamishito guy, like, how? Which, by the way, Kamishito, in case you don't know, that was, I believe, Rize's last name that she was using in the actual series or whatever. So, kind of makes you wonder what's the connection there as well, and why he wants to see Rize so bad, other than the fact that ever since season 1, it seems like everybody is just hooked on that Rize badge. Once again, this episode showcased Shinohara getting a hell of a lot more screen time than he's ever gotten in the entirety of the series, with him basically going up against Ayato and using that armor that is, like, it's so fucked up, and it kind of plays with the psyche as well, that Ayato, from what we've seen thus far, he talks as if he hated his father, and fuck you to his sister, and all that other shit, and yet at the same time, when he sees that that armor is pretty much probably his father, it fucks with his mind, as if he cares. So it kind of makes you wonder, where is Ayato? Is he in the same boat as Kaneki, that he's trying to save people? Is he, like, what is up with him? Why would that make you emotional and piss you off if you hate the motherfucker to begin with, or you didn't like him, or you didn't care for him, or you didn't believe in his methods? Juzo, psycho as ever. Like, the way he was acting with the Jason fucking Quinke or whatever, and he's like, ooh, I get to kill some twins. I love the psycho. Like, you know, in Attack on Titan, you got Hanji. Tokyo Ghoul, you have Juzo, Suzuya Juzo, and he don't fucking play. Or, well, he plays, but in a very sadistic and twisted way. And overall, this was a fucking kick-ass awesome episode. Finally getting the explanation. Going through the prison. Huge fights all being set up all around. Naki versus Akira, and Akira kind of got fucked up, but I gotta give my mom props because he's holding it down. So, awesome shit. And overall, this episode, a lot of ass-kicking action, but with a little bit more substance to it, and progression all around. Like, I'm leaning between 8.5 to a 9 for this episode. It was very good to great. I wish we would get a little bit more, like, one of the things that's bothering me is Kaneki hasn't been talking at all. Like, we get one word here or there, and I would definitely like a little bit more out of him. I don't know if Suyushida's purposely leaving him, like, not talk that much or whatever, but I think we should get more from him. Like, I think this is the most dialogue we got all season long thus far, when he was just kind of saying, you know, I want to protect these people, whatever. And it also, I guess, showcased as well that, you know, he hasn't gone evil. He's still, somewhere inside of him is the Kaneki that we all care for. It's just that he's doing something dirty. You know, when you gotta do something shady sometimes, you gotta put things aside. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode. How did you feel about the action, the awesomeness? What did you think about finding out about Mon's backstory, all the fights that is going down, and how did you feel about that ending, that transformation that Kaneki was going through? And your overall thoughts of the episode. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Say what you will about Tokyo Ghoul, but I don't care. This episode kicked so much fucking ass. The art and animation is back, which seems to be par for the course for most anime that I'm reviewing now. It seems as though February hit and they were like, here's the budget back, make some quality art and animation, because this episode just kicked ass on so many different levels. You had so many different fights going on, but they were more than just fights. It was more than just, you know, blast you and, you know, my cockajoo, no. It had depth to almost each and every one of them, and it had connections. For starters, let's start off with Juzo. Juzo versus the two half-breeds, or whatever the hell you want to call them at this point. It's interesting, and it kind of makes you look at the situation like there really isn't no right and wrong, because at the end of the day, back when they had their friend die or whatever, Juzo had less emotion than them. But now they're ghouls or whatever, and Juzo still has that same mentality or whatever, where he doesn't really give a fuck. So you gotta make you think. So he's on the inspector side, he's on the good side, and they're on the ghoul side apparently, yet he's supposed to be good, and he lacks emotion. He didn't give a fuck about a funeral, like, oh, it's like eating with her, whatever, who cares? It really makes you look at it from a different perspective. Like, there really isn't a right or wrong. I think it's two sides that both want to coincide or whatever. And there's bad people on both sides. There's bad humans just like there's bad ghouls. And when you look at it like that, it's like, fuck, there really isn't a right or a wrong. And just the interesting dynamics of the relationship. But Juzo just fucking owning them bitches. Like, he had 2-on-1 and he still fucked them up. I will say one thing that pissed me off, and this is the first major glaring instance I've seen of it this season, is that censorship, the white bar on her face, and then the blur that they did. It'll be cleaned up on the DVDs and Blu-rays, and if this continues, I won't keep mentioning it because I'm not going to keep bitching about the same problem over and over and over. But this was the first instance of it that I've seen, and it's like, don't terraform Mars me. Don't do it, please. We do not need that or whatever. That was one of the few very minor things about this episode that I will say that is like, get that fucking shit out of here. We do not need that right now, especially when I want to see my nut job boy Juzo going in. And then it also raises questions. How are they half ghouls like Kaneki? Like, did they have a similar operation? Was it the same people involved? A lot of questions got to make you wonder, how the fuck do they do that? Because people don't just wake up and say, hey, I'm a ghoul now. And it seems as though, I don't know if the author is really just a more fan or plays favoritism more towards the side of the inspectors, because for the most part, aside from one battle, almost all the ghouls got their asses kicked in this episode. Ayato got absolutely owned by Shinohara. And again, it's like you have awesome action, but then at the same time you're getting backstory as well, and kind of seeing the emotions and what driving, you know, the goals that are driving these characters, because Ayato's thinking about his father. And it's very interesting how deep of a character he is as well, because it's like he feels a certain way towards his father, where it's like, I don't know if it's abandonment issues or whatever the case may be, but then at the same time he still cares enough. So I don't know if when he grabbed Shinohara, you know, the arata that was basically made from his father, was it that he was just saying one final goodbye to his father? What was that about? But definitely it gives more depth to the fight than just an actual, you know, regular fight. Like, there's more to it. There's a lot on the line. There's a whole race that is behind all of this, you know, the ghouls and the humans. So it's much more than just a clear-cut battle. And there was two moments in this episode that got me, and I felt definitely play with them feels heavy. For starters, the one where Amon sees his students and he's like, what the fuck is going on? And it's interesting how just knowing a little bit can change perspectives. Like, to him, that's my past students, but to Akira, those are ghouls. You know, there's nothing more to it than that. So it's really interesting, and that's also going to help in the investigation. So that's definitely going to add more to later events, the fact that he's seen them and they're half ghouls. So somebody's doing something, they could put that into the database and, you know, keep searching or whatever. So definitely adding on for later events. And just the emotion of it, like, I mean, just imagine seeing your past students and, you know, they were good kids or whatever, and now you see them, they're doing fucked up things. I mean, just imagine in the real life, you see a student that you used to be a teacher to, and now they're doing drugs or something, or they're killing people, whatever. That would horrify you and make you feel bad. And I think he felt the same way. And I think that I wish they would, and it probably will be from here on out because of what happened to Shinohara, but less spotlight on Shinohara. I don't really care about Shinohara like that. I think Suyashida likes his character too much that he keeps on adding more screen time for him than he needs. Add more screen time for Amon. Like, the moments with Amon in this episode were just brilliant, with his students, with Kaneki, the relationship that they have, this understanding of where they want to go with it. Like, give Amon Shinohara screen time, and hopefully with Shinohara, what happened to him at the end of this episode, we'll know more of him. Let's give it all to Amon, okay? And then Kaneki going crazy, saving Ayato from Shinohara, completely taking him out and fucking just going insane. That Kakuju form, oh! When he said that infamous line, you know what line I'm talking about, when he asked how many of these damn things does he have? 1,000 minus 7. Oh my gosh, this episode, it wasn't perfect. There were a couple of little instances here or there. I definitely felt, I wish, even though he did take out Shinohara, ultimately, I wish Kaneki in his Kakuju form would have been a little bit more formidable. Like, when he went up against Amon, I think, and don't quote me, but I honestly feel one of the reasons why he didn't take out Amon immediately was because Kaneki himself was fighting it, because he knows who Amon is. He saved them once before, and it's like, I don't want to do this to this person. So even though the Kakuju is going crazy and everything, Kaneki is still holding himself back somewhat inside there, and that's probably, hopefully, the reason why, because it's like this incredible, insane transformation that Kaneki went through, and Amon kind of took him out. Not easy, but fairly easy. He didn't really get injured in the process. He fucked up Shinohara, though, and was Shinohara dead, or was he just eating the armor? Because, like, I don't think that was even censorship. I think it was just off-screen or whatever. It might have been censorship. I didn't know what the fuck happened to Shinohara. Was he eating him when he found him? Because you saw Amon went crazy, so I initially thought he was eating him, but it could be that he was just eating the arata off of his body, and that's why it looked like chunks of metal was being eaten. So maybe that's the case, and Amon just flipped out seeing Shinohara, like, knock the fuck out. It could be that or whatever, but either way, still, I don't want Shinohara having that much more screen time, please. If he's still alive, give that to Amon. Just that moment that they had when he was like, was it all a lie? Because, you know, Kaneki, what he did for him that day changed Amon and gave him a little bit of a different perspective on ghouls and humans and where they should go with this. So I think when he saw that, it was like, you changed my life. You gave me a different idea. Why are you doing this? Was it all bullshit? Did you just fake me? Did you just play games with me? So it kind of like fucked him up a little bit, and that's probably why he went all the way ham on Kaneki or whatever. And just when the one-eyed came out, there was just so much greatness to this episode, honestly. 9.5 for this episode. Very small nitpicks here or there. I wish Kaneki would have beasted a little bit on Amon, maybe cut him a little bit here or there, and a couple other instances here or there in the episode, but for the most part, art and animation, back kicking ass. I mean, just this episode fucking kicked major ass. Great fucking episode, 9.5 out of 10. I loved it, and it just felt like if you want some epic action with at the same time some backstory, some character development along the way, and some different things that is going to give you more than just a fight, Tokyo Ghoul Day is giving it now, baby. It is here. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode. How did you feel about everything that went down? Best fight? Do you think that the ghouls are getting their asses kicked too much and that they should be giving a little bit more of a fight back to the inspectors, or it's good that the inspectors are owning them? Because at the end of the day, the only one that really won his fight was Kaneki against Shinohara, and then after that he got owned by fucking Amon, which I don't think it should have went down that way. I don't know. That's just me, because there's also people like Arima in the wings. In case you don't know who Arima is, he would kick ass too, so just kind of got me thinking a little bit. The overall thoughts of the episode, I'm fucking hype as a motherfucker. I love this episode, but that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you do so as well, it'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. What's 1,000 minus 7, bitch? So I can definitely say with certainty that the best part of this episode, in my opinion, was the stuff with Juzo's past. Finding out what happened to him in his past, fucked up as it may be, it makes clear sense why he's so fucked up in the head. Being raised by ghouls, what this madam woman did to him. And in case the anime wasn't clear about it, because I know that there's going to be a few people that are like, well, what was going on? Juzo, and spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear this, just skip over the next 5 seconds real quick. He had his testicles and his private parts removed by that woman. Yeah. So finding out his past, being raised by ghouls and everything, and then trying to adapt to humanity and, you know, how to live like a human in general was just crazy. And honestly, I totally get why Juzo would be like that. And I think this episode was trying to display just that. Why is he so fucked up? Why he is the way he is? And I felt bad for him. And I think the best thing, and I've said this in manga reviews, I've said this all over the place, the best thing that Shinohara, in my opinion, brings to the table is what he represents to Juzo, or for Juzo. Because when he was like, hey, you know, I would feel sad if you died, it kind of made Juzo think for a second, wait, why? What's death? Who cares? So what he offers to the table, for me personally, interest-wise, just everything, is that he's a good partner for Juzo who lacks humanity and the capability for empathy. And I think that that's why I care for Shinohara in that regard. But other than that, it's like, Shinohara surviving and everything. And I kind of called it in my last review. I don't think he was eaten. I think Kaneki just ate the Arata off of him. So kind of called it on that aspect. And I'm just like, Sui Ishida, why do you love Shinohara so much? I don't get it. Why? Like, he's alright, but I don't know. And yet again, this episode, which for the past 6 episodes, which we're kind of halfway through the season already, is hinting that Hide is going to have some sort of role in everything. Hide, you know, crashing into Amon and looking at the papers and everything. You can definitely see that he's up to something at the very least. And also, Hide, he's being built up for something. We don't know what yet, but he's definitely going to have a role, or a bigger role, later on down the road. And it's just like, personally, I'm not a Hide fan. I don't really care for Hide, but I totally get why, like, you know, the author is doing this, because he has some sort of role for him. It's just, as of right now, it doesn't seem clear what the hell he's going to do. I mean, at the end of the day, he's some delivery pizza boy, so what the fuck could he possibly do? But you can see that there's some sort of small setups being in play for Hide. A little bit more of Kaneki, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. Honestly, one of the things that Tokyo Ghoul Route A is missing is Kaneki being himself. And I'm not talking about being black-haired Kaneki, because no, I like white hair way more. But he's not talking. He's not being badass. He's just like a tortured soul in this season, honestly. It's like, right now, the Kakuja is, you know, taking control, and he can't control himself. He can't even sip coffee anymore. He's like, oh, I don't want to eat anymore. So you can definitely see that, like, he's being tortured, but at the same time, I think that's one of the things that this season is lacking, because one of the things I personally loved was getting the character development and characterization of Ken Kaneki through season 1, episodes 1 through 12, and the manga, the first 60-something chapters that cover that content. I think that that was one of the best things about Tokyo Ghoul. So when you take that out of the equation, and is more so leaning on the inspectors, it takes out one of the elements that I personally like, and I felt drove the story in a proper way, in a proper fashion, for that matter, because it's kind of like, every time we see Kaneki, he's just quiet, or he's screaming, screaming in agony or he's dealing with something. And I think if it was a little bit more expressive vocally, you know, besides screaming, like actually talking or whatever, it would make things flow a little bit better. And yet again, Toka, with the minimal role that she has in the manga, she didn't have any of these spotlights. I'm not gonna lie, I feel the anime is keeping Toka in there for the sake of the Toka fans. I was a huge Toka fan for the first half of the manga, and for season 1 of the anime, that was probably my favorite character. But in this one, and again, these elements really weren't in the manga like that heavily, I feel as though that's just basically for the Toka fan service, because at the end of the day, the mangaka even didn't feel like her story was interesting enough to keep it going, because all you see her at the end of the day is she's in school suffering over Kaneki, she's riding a bike suffering over Kaneki, you know, she's drinking water suffering over him. So while I love Toka, she will still be one of my favorites, not my favorite anymore because of her subplot being reduced to just kind of that. Ultimately, I still feel for her. I just feel as though we could have used that screen time for other things, or maybe more Kaneki, him talking, understanding what he feels right now. Although technically he's in agony, so I don't know how much talking he would do, but you get what I mean. And then the Amon and Akira moment, I'm not gonna lie. Amon, I respect you and you're a good man for what you did, because that Akira though, and just kind of getting more of their relationship and some character, I guess, characterization and kind of character development at the same time, finding out that Akira, I don't know if it was legit, maybe she was just gone out of her mind when she said it and she didn't really mean it, but when she was blaming Amon, like, you really killed my father, it was your fault, and Amon kind of agreed. We know that Amon, you know, he feels guilt. Amon is a good person at the end of the day. Same way that he wanted to help Kaneki is the same way he, you know, he feels bad about what happened to Mato. So I totally get him saying that. Akira, I think she was fronting. I don't think she really feels that way. She just felt, you know, in the moments and you feel like shit, you're gonna say stupid things. And then her being drunk, I love drunk Akira. And honestly, again, I respect the shit out of Amon for not taking advantage and just doing push-ups or whatever. I think the manga hinted a little bit more at her kind of like throwing herself towards him. I think in the manga she was like getting undressed and kind of making advances towards him. In the anime they kind of cut it a little bit down, but either way, yeah, that was some funny stuff. I will say that the comedy with her being drunk was hilarious. And yeah, a big war approaches with the Dobes and the Owl, so some interesting stuff. Overall, this episode was a good episode for the most part. I think, again, the Juzo stuff was the best elements, getting more of his backstory and kind of progressing things along slightly with everything that's been going on. I will say, the character that was introduced that's working at Anteku, that dropped the cup or whatever, stop dropping the cup. Studio Period. Stop having the last laugh, please. And yeah, good episode, 7.5 out of 10 for this one. Just, if only Kaneki talked more, I think we would flow better. If we got more from his perspective, it would flow better. That's what I honestly feel regarding this season and this episode as well. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. What do you think about the whole Amon and Akira weird moment that they had? Did you feel as though like there's some romance brewing there? Also, do you think that the Juzo part was the best part of the episode? And how do you feel about what happened to him? Poor fucking Juzo. I still love the fuck out of that character, but yikes. And your overall thoughts of the episode, but that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Poor Juzo. This episode of Tokyo Ghoul Route A felt like the Tokyo Ghoul that I loved from season 1. And coincidentally, what have I been saying? We needed Kaneki to talk. And this episode, he actually talked a bit. And what do you know? The episode was a great fucking episode. We had so much going on in this episode. And I loved it. I felt like I was the same feeling I had with almost each and every episode of season 1 of Tokyo Ghoul I had with this episode. And that's because I've said this many different times in my manga reviews, episode reviews. Tokyo Ghoul is at its most interesting when it focuses on the ghouls and what their life is like and what they're going through right now. When it goes to the inspectors, it's setting up exposition for future wars and, you know, future plot points or whatnot. But the ghoul side of it is what I think, honestly, most of us legitimately love and interests us the most, especially me in particular. So an episode like this, not only was it a great episode overall, but just enjoyable. It really just felt like that flow that this first season or just earlier parts had, where it flowed very nicely and everything went smoothly, and it just really Tokyo Ghoul, let's go. So for starters, you get to see yet again Kaneki. He's going through it, he's losing himself, and I just love how it gets really philosophical, where it's like, I haven't been eating ghouls, they've been eating me this entire time, and it's symbolic of just what he's been going through, how he feels as though the inner ghoul of who he is eating at him alive, and he was once a human, and the ghoul side of him had ate his human side. So it was kind of being symbolic in that sense, but just overall, it yet again shows how much he's been broken down. And I really wish we would have, of course, like I said in my last review, get more of him talking, but at the same time, it just shows how much of a tortured soul he is and how alone he truly feels. And going to the Toka scene, which I'll talk about in a second, it just goes to show how much he's branched off and how much he's changed overall. And then him going to visit Yoshimura. Yoshimura honestly feels like he's such a good fatherly figure. I mean, everything he's done for Kaneki up until this point, you know, bringing him in, helping him out, and even still to this day, like, he's just such an awesome character that he's still telling him, come back to Anteku. You know, we will welcome you with open arms. Just come back. But Kaneki just wants to defend them and protect them from afar. And it's kind of, to a certain degree, I know I always bring up a reference here or there to something, but reminds me of Itachi. He rather sacrifice himself and go through hell just to make sure that the people he cares about and loves is going to be alright. And I swear on everything, I don't, when I'm by myself, just hysterically laugh when I'm watching something. I might grin, I might go, I was dying when Tsukiyama showed up and he just kept on with the napkin. Oh, it's this word, it's that word, I love Tsukiyama. Tsukiyama is the fucking most hilarious, most genius character. Everything about him, his swag, when he speaks the English words mixed up with the Japanese and he's trying to be French all at the same time, he is fucking awesome. And this episode just yet again showing that he is not giving up his obsession with Kaneki Ken, where he's like, I'm still going to gather information. I'm still looking for him. I don't give a fuck. I need him. I love Tsukiyama, and this episode having a big dose of him is what really kicked it in. I would honestly say this entire season, the character that has been the most faithful and just really given that vibe has been Tsukiyama. Tsukiyama is the one thing where I can say he's the constant that throughout the entire season I have had absolutely no problems with his character. He hasn't been boring. He hasn't been anything other than the Tsukiyama that we know and fucking adore. And I ain't gonna lie, I kind of got the creeps when he took out Hinami. Not that he's like a sexual deviant or anything. He wouldn't do anything like that, but it's just like, Tsukiyama, at the end of the day, while it's funny, we know what type of creep he really is. He wants to fucking eat Kaneki while Kaneki eats. Like, he's a nut job. So with him being with Hinami there, and then like he steps off for a second, and coincidentally Akatsuki comes in and starts talking to her or whatever, which Akatsuki, there's something definitely very, you know, suspicious about Akatsuki, what happens later on and whatnot. But nonetheless, it was just a weird scene to see Tsukiyama and Hinami there. And I think this was building up on Hinami's character as well, which is another plus. Like, this episode did a lot of different things. It was building up on who she wants to be, who she truly cares for. You know, the scenes where she's tucking in Toka, you know, putting the blanket on her, watching over her, thinking about what she can do for Kaneki. It's showing the maturing of her little by little, which is a good thing for the character, because as a little girl, there's not really much you can do a lot of the time with a little girl. Like, what can you really do? She can't really fight or whatever, but to see that her character is being developed, even if it's slightly like that, I enjoy it. And this is the episode where all the stuff where we kind of were like a little iffy about Toka, like, we don't care about the college life and everything, just seeing how motivated she is, I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it. And just to see, with regardless of what, you know, she's passionate about the college stuff. I'm gonna fucking kick college's ass, I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna blend in with society. The moment Hinami shows up and says, Big Brother is here, she doesn't give a fuck, and that goes to show that at the end of the day, she loves him. And I think one thing I will say that the anime has done better is I like the dynamics and more of the showing of their relationship in the anime than the manga, because in the manga there's little hints of it, but in the anime it full-blown shows she loves this motherfucker. The soundtracks, they do this every episode and I love it too. Those sad soundtracks that come on, it really just plays very well with the emotion and the scene itself. And that scene when she met up with Kaneki is probably one of the best scenes this entire season. When she faced him and told him something, it was really just a realization to the character. You're not doing this for us, you're doing this for yourself. At the end of the day, you're selfish. You're doing this because it makes you feel better, and it makes you have this weird ideology trying to be some tragic hero. And if you notice with the punching, it wasn't just the stereotypical bullshit of like, oh, you baka. It had a lot more impact than that. That was her right there trying to prove, you can't protect us. How are you trying to protect us when you can't protect yourself? But she fails to realize Kaneki has grown. he can defend himself very well now, and he can defend you guys. So to see ultimately that he even can defend himself now, she can't do anything. She uses any tactic, even if it's verbally, to make him go off his guard and still get a punch in there to try and prove her point. You can't protect us, but in reality, she knows that he's very strong now. He's not the same weak guy that came to Anteku begging for food, looking for anything, to help him through his troubles. He's not the same guy, so it's just really an intense and deep situation there, and it's far more than the typical "you baka," and that's what I loved about that scene. And again, I think that's the best scene all season long thus far. Of course, having that interview with Shinohara and Juzo again, Akatsuki, there's something very fishy. I think anybody can tell, but I'll be spoiler free about it. And just seeing like what she was saying, asking those questions about the organs and whatnot. I mean, it's clear indication she's talking about Kaneki. Like, come on, anybody with a brain can see it. And the anime doesn't really go into this stuff like the manga. I'll explain one other thing. That little thing that they walked by, there's like a little security thing in the manga. Explains that they have these things that can detect the cells in people, and ghouls aren't supposed to be able to pass through there, because if they pass through there, it'll immediately sound off or whatever. So Akatsuki walked right through there. It didn't go off. But she did give them hints about Anteku as well, and coincidentally, that's right after Kaneki went to visit Anteku. So a lot of mystery being there, and then when they showed up at the end of the day, it's like things is brewing, a huge setup, and overall this was just a great episode. Great fucking episode. It really felt like how much I love Tokyo Ghoul Season 1, and if we could get more of this and focus more on the ghouls and less on the inspectors, we'll be golden. 9 out of 10 for this bad boy. Really love this episode, and it hit me right here in the feels, bro. But let me know what you thought of this episode. How did you feel about this? All the mysteries that I just spoke of. What did you think? And do you think that was the best scene this entire season thus far, with Toka and Kaneki reuniting and just seeing the impact of their relationship? And your overall thoughts. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. So did anyone else really enjoy and appreciate the subtleties of the conversation between Yoshimura and Shinohara at that Anteku shop when they were just talking and whatnot? I never really care about Shinohara, to be honest with you, up until this episode. I don't know, this episode really brought Shinohara out and showed the sympathetic side to him when he was basically, to a small degree, trying to warn. I felt like he was trying to warn, in a way, Yoshimura, like, get out or something like that, because he could tell at the end of the day, this is a good person. Just because he's a ghoul doesn't mean that he's a piece of shit. And the way Yoshimura was kind of like subtly saying, not everyone is bad, just because some ghouls are like that and others aren't. And it just really felt like such an interesting conversation, because he was saying it in such a different way, but I think they both knew exactly what he was trying to say. And honestly, it just had a really quiet vibe to it, and it just felt very intimate, I guess you would say. And it was like the calm before the storm, and shit's about to hit the fan. But this episode, very good setup episode. Normally setup episodes is like, oh, okay, it was good or whatever, but it just felt like everything, all the emotion and intensity packed into it is really building up for the final few episodes, because it's like things is gonna hit the fan, and really soon. So at the beginning of this episode, we get the backstory of Yoshimura, and it's a tragic one. I'll definitely say that comparing it to the manga, to be honest with you, there's a lot of elements I really wish was more in there. There was more depth to exactly what it was that Yoshimura's woman did to keep the baby alive and whatnot. But overall, just his backstory in general, you get to see this lonely monster that found love and then ultimately lost it again, and kind of makes you wonder exactly what organization was that he was involved in. A lot of questions arose regarding his backstory and everything, and just kind of like made things like, where was he, what was going on and whatnot. But overall, it was just beautifully done. Tragic. It was very quick, unfortunately. Again, that's the whole problem with Tokyo Ghoul in general. Like, if each season had 24 episodes, I honestly think this could have been like damn near masterpiece level. But regardless of what, it was still nicely done, to be honest with you. And just Yoshimura is such a awesome character. Like, I would honestly say he is an awesome character with a sad backstory. This old man, just trying to live his days out, whatever. And it kind of makes you wonder. So we find out on this one, his child was the one-eyed. Where's his child? What's going on? What type of relationship they have at this particular point? So while we get some answers, we get even more questions. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's a big freaking answer. Like, Yoshimura is the father to the one-eye that they've been hunting down and everything. So it really gets you fucking excited. And a sad backstory, but also gives a lot of exposition and gives you a lot of answers with still raising some questions. And I honestly would say, from Tokyo Ghoul Route A, one of the things that definitely I feel should have been cut out, and I get why it wasn't included in the manga, is a lot, not everything, but definitely a lot of the Toka stuff, simply because certain elements of it, not everything. Again, I like that it's expanding more on her relationship with Kaneki and how much she really cares for him and whatnot, but just sometimes it just feels like it doesn't really necessarily connect to everything else that's going on. Like, and you can see that she's using this whole school thing to a certain degree to get her mind off of Kaneki. I think that that's one of the things that she's using as like, okay, let me replace this void with constantly putting my all into the school stuff. She already was into that thing, and you know, part of her character is wanting to be beautiful and kind of blend in with society or whatnot, but I think that she's also legitimately using the school stuff to get her mind off of him. So in that aspect it works, but then at the same time it's just like you have all the stuff going on with the Dobes and Teiku, everything going on with Kaneki and whatnot, and then you just kind of have her side story, and it's like her talking to Yoriko sometimes just feels out of place, I guess. And again, I understand why it wasn't included in the manga, and sometimes with Route A I kind of feel as though, yeah, the manga got it right the second time around. Probably should have just stuck to that route. And even the small subtleties of like Anteko being a true family, where the red ape and that other chick is like, yo, we're gonna stay here regardless of what. You could tell they're preparing for war and it's gonna go down. I don't know how they're gonna do it, because from the speed that they've been going with, they're gonna have to cover, you know, a decent, you know, amount of stuff within 4 episodes, and they probably could do it in 2. So I don't know if the pacing is going to slow down a bit, if they're going to rear a little different way and it's not going to happen, because from my mind, I'm guessing it's going to happen similar to how the manga ended, the original manga Tokyo Ghoul, before the sequel came out, Re or whatever. I'm guessing that that's how it's going to happen, and I won't spoil it or whatever, because if it does happen, I can tell you one thing, it's going to be an insane ending. But the way things have been going, and you know, this is the original ideas of the author or whatnot, it might not go that route. And again, with 4 episodes remaining, if I'm correct, I might be wrong, I'm pretty sure it's 4 episodes remaining. I don't know how they're going to handle this or whatever, so it's definitely got me interesting how they're going to do it. Are they just going to slow down the pacing? Is there going to be a lot of different things going on? And I mean, it just really sucks at the end of the day, because it goes a lot deeper, and I mean, you know, the situation that they're in sucks, where Yoshimura and Shinohara, under different circumstances, probably could have sat and had coffee every day or whatever, and it's unfortunate that the surroundings, everything around people can ruin a great relationship, and that just really is the truth of it. And honestly, I felt like this episode really made me finally see the value in Shinohara, and if this was what Sui Ishida was trying to show, this detective that at the end of the day is trying to do his job, but he has some sort of sense of, you know, good inside of him, I guess you could say, I get it, and I respect that. I mean, it cuts out of Amon, because I think Amon should have been a larger piece, and if anything, that could have been like Amon's conversation, but Sui Ishida made Shinohara finally stand out for me and actually worthwhile. And yeah, for a setup episode, yet again, very good stuff. Honestly, I felt like it just hit home with a lot of different things, especially Yoshimura's past and where he's at right now, the connections to the one-eyed, him being his father. There's like a lot of things going down, and I know Kaneki is getting ready, and I can't wait. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so hype. Yeah, Tokyo Ghoul, baby. 8.5 out of 10 for this bad boy. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode. How did you feel about that conversation? Honestly, it's just a small conversation between two people that are saying things in different, like in codes, so to speak, and it still felt so powerful. It really did. And do you agree with me that to a certain extent, Toka's involvement in the anime right now just kind of feels a little bit off compared to everything else that's going on? Your overall thoughts of the episode? Man, Tokyo Ghoul, it may not be like the manga, and you know, certain things are different, whatever, but this setup, I can't wait. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Bold claim coming in 3, 2, 1. I truly believe in this route, Toka is going to die, and if that happens, oh my gosh, it's gonna send chills down my spine. Don't forget the promotional picture of Kaneki holding some lifeless person there that could very well be someone else. That could, I'm not gonna get into who, but if that could be Toka with the setup of her running towards the war. Sui Ishida, if you had this dark fucking plan in your mind all along and originally was gonna go this route and maybe somebody talked you out of it, you're a cruel one. You're a cruel one, bro. So in all honesty, while it's not as good as the manga per se, I'll be honest with you, because I love Tokyo Ghoul manga. That's one of my favorite manga, period. I will still say that the content in this episode held up very well, and it was an amazing build-up and an amazing beginning to the war and Teiku versus the Dobes, the inspectors, and it was just like pump crazy. I really wish we would have got a little bit more development with the Devil Ape and Black Dog, I think her name is. I think that would have helped to make it a little bit more impactful as far as like, them going in and going crazy and everything. We've only heard like whispers of the devil ape, and likewise with, Black Dog or whatever, because they look like monsters. They were just fucking going in, and I was just like, holy shit. So this is the true reason why they call them, these nicknames or whatever. But yeah, if we would have had like a little bit more build up in it, even in the manga, they really didn't have too much build up, to be honest with you. I remember reading the manga, it's like, he's here, she's there, but they don't really have that much of an impact, like, as far as, like, all this build-up that they should have had. And then in the anime, they had even less because, the anime just blitzes through everything. And it's crazy that last episode, we have Shinohara and Yoshimura sitting down having coffee, and now they're at fucking war. Like, I don't know, this episode, there was just so many different scenes that, like, stole it, but to segue into something else, hands down the best scene of this episode, and as of right now, besides the last few episodes, the person that owns Tokyo Ghoul Route A, this entire series, or this entire season, Tsukiyama. Every scene that this motherfucker comes in, he steals the show and steals the episode, and nonetheless, I was really looking forward to this, because when I saw him going crazy at Kaneki, I remember this from the manga. I'm like, so this was originally going to be in there as well, and they could have done definitely a better portrayal of the crying scene, because like the art in the manga looked amazing, and in the anime it looked alright, nothing special. I wish it would have been a little bit more detailed and dramatic, but that whole scene was stupendous, and that just shows his character of how much Kaneki means to him in his own twisted way. Like, I love to look at how fucked up Tsukiyama is in the mind. Like, he's to the point of crying, begging, because he wants to eat him. But part of it, I think, as well, is, I think, a little bit more than just that. It's kind of like maybe Hannibal Lecter, so to speak. I think there's a little bit more, well, at least the Hannibal from the show Hannibal, great show, by the way. There's more to the mind state of how he feels about Kaneki than just wanting to eat him. Maybe he feels a bond and a connection through this appetite that he has towards him. I don't know. It's just a really fucked up and weird, like, relationship that he has with Kaneki. And when Kaneki basically showcases, again, huge development on how much of a combat, fighter that he is now, he's like dodging him, and he's like, bro, come on, you can't do nothing to me. And just to see him there begging, Tsukiyama, fortissimo, begging, crying, please don't go. It hit me so hard, because it's like, this is such a strange and bizarre relationship, but I feel bad for him at the same time. And Kaneki's like, I'm tired of not being able to do anything for the people I care about. And it's just like such an emotional scene. Again, in the manga, it was a little bit better handled. I felt it a little bit more, but I feel the anime still handled it pretty decently. Especially, it's just powerful content all around, and regardless of where you put it at, it's gonna stand out. And it just really, that scene stole the episode for me, amongst other things. Flat out, I think Amon likes a little bit of the sausage, because how dare you turn down Akira, bro? Like, why? Why would you do that? I would never. I mean, I get it. It's probably because of the father, he doesn't want to disrespect him, which, by the way, getting the flashback gives a little bit more builds onto her character, finding out about what happened to her mom and seeing it full on, how her father basically went into sort of, he fell into the depravity after that, so to speak. So it was good, and it adds more to her character and builds up Akira a little bit more. But, Amon, bro, what are you doing, my bro? What are you doing? You really? Like, really, bro. Like, I need to go up in there and pimp smack the fuck out of you for that shit, bro. And once again, just great build up all around for this finale. You got Nishio and Kaneki having one final conversation, and I mean, Nishio definitely should have had more screen time, not only in the anime, but also in the manga. There's certain characters that just didn't get enough screen time, so when it gets to these moments, it could be a hell of a lot more impactful, and unfortunately it isn't. But I still felt for what they handled and the way they did it is like, Nishio is a badass and a fucking playboy and everything to the very end. He's like, that's that fine, I gotta hit it one more time before I say goodbye. It's like, Nishio, you're fucking hilarious, bro. And honestly, I think it's huge build up and setup for Toka, heading into the war, what's going to happen to her. Now, I don't know if they're going to do it like the manga, and I won't spoil what happens in the manga, but I think the route that they're going to go, maybe Suishida was going to give us a real dark ending with Toka dying, and this is how he's going to portray, and this is why this route was so important to him, important enough to even, do an entire anime season based off of this route, because maybe that's where he was going to go, and maybe we still might have gotten a sequel manga, but it was just going to be an even darker thing of what was to come. I don't know, but either way, I think that was huge setup for the finale, and if Toka fucking dies, oh my god, just thinking about that drives me nuts. Like, even though I've been like a little bit like put off by Toka, because at the end of the day her subplot hasn't been the most interesting this season or whatever, it's just mainly college and trying to get her mind off Kaneki. Every once in a while she'll have a really powerful scene, usually when it has to do with Kaneki, but aside from that, it just kind of always feels a little bit like, it doesn't focus in on the main thing that's going on, the Aogiri tree and everything else. But I don't care. She's still a fucking amazing character, and I still love that fucking character. So you kill her, I'm gonna fucking flip. But yeah, the war has begun, and Taku versus the Doves. I don't care. Great episode. I know it doesn't hold a candle to the manga because the manga is just on another level. I love the manga to death. But for what they did, I still feel as though it handled it very well. The emotion, the intensity. Tsukiyama, man, like, oh. 8.5 to a 9 for this episode. Very good to a great, maybe cut it down the middle somewhere along the lines of that, because it was very fucking good and very intense. And even though, again, for the millionth time, it's not as good as the manga, it's still fucking awesome, and I love it. But let me know what you guys think. Biggest question, Toka, she gonna die or not? Who do you think is gonna be that woman in his arms at the very end? Is it gonna be Toka? Is it gonna be someone else? And just your overall thoughts of everything that's going down right now. How did you feel? Were you there sobbing with Tsukiyama? But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. So it's weird with this episode of Tokyo Ghoul. I felt as though what it was trying to do, it did do some awesome things. And I definitely felt as though it was showcasing some things that I would have liked to get a little bit more detail on in the actual manga, because the stuff with the ape, the stuff with the black dog, it was kind of like glanced over, like you glazed over or whatever, and you didn't really get full exposition as to the status of what happened to them and everything like that. So in that aspect, I liked it. At the same time, you know, the struggle and everything was done very nicely and everything, but I just think that we needed to space things out. Like, honestly, one of the biggest things, again, which was, I guess, a complaint people have with Season 1, personally, I'd say Season 2 has more of that problem, even though they're trying to do this Route A and they're changing things around, but still, nonetheless, pacing. I definitely say that we needed a little bit more room for exposition, and like this episode was just all fighting, and don't get me wrong, I love some fights like the next motherfucker. I mean, at the end of the day, it was some pretty awesome shit, but you need a little bit of room for exposition to build things up a little bit more in between things and in between scenes or whatever. And when like the biggest pieces of exposition or whatever, or just in general things that are happening, is Toka running. You know, it's like Toka runs, Juzo's going fucking crazy. Which again, I'm not complaining, honestly. Like, the action in this episode was just through the fucking roof. But with all that being said, you do need to give better pacing, because it's just wham, 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 wham without the build-up. So like I said before, Double Ape fucking going in. I ain't gonna lie, I actually like him a lot more. I will say I like the Double Ape and Black Dog, and I appreciate them more in the anime than in the manga. In the manga, I was like, damn, this sucks, fuck. And this one, I was kind of like, damn, Double Ape, don't die, motherfucker, Black Dog, what are you doing? So, you know, just to see them at the same time, I felt it gave a little bit more into their character as well. I think that Route A, what they did is like more minuscule characters like that, which they're not necessarily minuscule, but, you know, they didn't have a major impact, I guess, emotionally or as characters in general in the actual manga. So to see them actually get their moment and kind of it being tragic that way was pretty fucking awesome. And at the same time, it was also building up Kaneki, which I think, again, the scenes with Kaneki would always have more impact if Route A wasn't so Kaneki-less. Like, this whole season has been mainly from the perspective of the inspectors, when again, we should have had it from the perspective of Kaneki. But with all that being said, still, him coming in, it was kind of like fucking Super Saiyan Kaneki or some shit, just blazing through and kicking everyone's ass. Now, I ain't gonna lie, Juzo in this episode kicked motherfucking ass. I think some of the best action pieces was Juzo just going in against Yoshimura, the One Eye, whatever the fuck you want to call him. And honestly, they did the scene justice when he's going there for Ukina and, like, you know, he's going to hold her hand or whatever. Yoshimura's a tragic character. Honestly, I think they're doing tragedy for different characters in this one than what the original Tokyo Ghoul manga did. Like, Yoshimura right now, tragedy. Honestly, what happened, that just fucking sucks. His life was shit. His wife died like that after basically cannibalizing herself just so that she can feed the baby and everything. And for him to die like that, having that kind of, you know, I don't know, call it spiritual awakening or whatever the fuck, it definitely gave a little bit more of like a sentimental feel, and that was done nicely as well. And the way they were building Shinohara as well, I think it was kind of done good in a sense of where he was like, oh man, you know, you could tell that there was a little bit of regret, because he did feel like this was a decent person, but at the end of the day, the job's a job, and you gotta do what you gotta do, and, you know, it's humanity versus the ghouls. And if you notice, they're taking that concept, which a lot of series do, and I'm fine with it. At the end of the day, it's a concept that is very well, you know, justified and showcasing, like, who are the true monsters when the ghouls are protecting the old lady and stuff. When the Black Dog went to grab the old lady, and the humans is like, fuck that old bitch, you know, we killed that bitch too, take her out. How are the humans justified when they're willing to kill innocent people just for their cause, and the ghouls are sacrificing themselves? It really makes you look at it in that perspective, like, yeah, they're supposed to be the I see what you motherfuckers is up to. And then 2 big setups at the end of this episode, which was hype as a motherfucker. First of all, with the one-eyed, the true one-eyed showing up, going in. I will say that there were certain pieces of the episode that did have really good art, because for the most part, the art, it was good, but it wasn't anything standoutish, which I think in the manga, that's another thing, which again, I keep going and comparing because I know that that's what a lot of people do want to hear about, which is my experience with the manga compared to what's going on with the anime. I think the manga has really gorgeous art a lot of the times, and the anime only does it some of the times. Like, there's some scenes where I'm like, you can really make this look, beautiful and really make this stand out, and they kind of don't, but those ending scenes when One Eye was going in and that fucking grin and everything, that was sick. And then Kaneki versus Amon, which Shinohara stole a lot of spotlight or whatever, which, by the way, I don't know, was he headed off to somewhere? Okay, yes. Terrible joke. I get it. All right, I get it. But Kaneki versus Amon, I think that that's one of the most important fights out here, because it's not necessarily something that should even happen when they both have the same objective. I guess they're just going about it. Well, if you think about it in that aspect, it's like 2 different routes to the same goal. While Amon is trying to do it from the inspector side, Kaneki is trying to do it from the ghoul side, and they're trying to go to the same way, but ultimately they have to go through, different routes to get there. So it's very interesting that that's going to be the climactic conclusion, seemingly anyway, or final fight of Tokyo Ghoul. It's like Amon versus Kaneki. Now, I don't know if they're going to go exactly some of the stuff from the manga, but I'm hyped to see that as well. Hopefully they do some really good job on the art, because there's some very big pieces that I'm looking forward to. And with all that being said, very good episode. I wish the pacing, again, nothing we could do at this particular point. We only have 12 episodes a season, but I wish the pacing would have been a little bit slower and a little bit more exposition driven inside of some of these scenes. Also, I think that, again, a little bit less just in general on like some of the fighting and a little bit more build up, but still awesome action pieces, awesome build up, and interesting progression, to say the least. Is like, now as a manga reader, I'm kind of confused as to what the fuck's gonna happen towards the end, so I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, 8 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think. What did you think about this episode? What did you think about Yoshimura? Did you feel for him? Did you feel for Black Dog and the Devil Ape? And how do you feel about this final fight? Who do you think is gonna take it? Kaneki or Amon? And your overall thoughts of the episode. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Putting the critical aspects aside, just as a genuine fan of awesome anime and of Tokyo Ghoul in general, this episode was fucking amazing. I loved the living fuck out of this episode. It had me excited. It had me into it. It had me immersed into what was going on beyond belief. And I just honestly felt like this episode was amazing. I loved every single bit of it, everything about it. It was just, this episode kicked fucking ass. Like, one of the things that Rude all along has been doing right, especially, is the very small things, like the music and the voice acting. Like, the music, almost every score gets me hype, or gets me into the emotion, or makes me feel something. So the music is very powerful in this series. Then the voice acting, Juzo's voice acting, the little monologues that we have in between the fights, like, just, this episode was fucking amazing. I loved the fuck out of this episode. I don't care what anyone has to say as far as enjoyment goes. It was 10 out of 10. Now, for starters, getting some of the aspects and the changes that they took with Tokyo Ghoul opposed to the manga. When we have the Juzo versus Eto scene, him seeing what happened to Shinohara, it was a bit different from what happened in the manga. And I won't say what happened in the manga just because, go read the manga. It's fucking amazing. You'll see the difference for yourself. But Juzo's development right then and there, thinking back, and I wish we would have had a little more time to see him and Shinohara interact and all the things that Shinohara taught him and did for him or whatever to get him to this particular point. But just his reaction to what happened to Shinohara, the tears, the screaming, for a motherfucker that was like, death? Who gives a fuck about death? Who cares? Talking about it like that, to go this change, it was insane, and it really just brought the character to life. I think one of the things about Juzo that the anime does that just really gets me excited is the voice acting, because Juzo has this really high-pitched voice, and it just really adds to the character, because the character's so bubbly, so lively, and then when you put him in a dramatic situation like that, through the fucking roof, getting his leg broken, I would say something regarding the manga that they did a little bit better regarding his leg. I won't say what, but regardless of what, just what happened with Juzo, the development right then and there, him changing. Because prior to this moment, he was pretty much just like, whatever about death. And that totally went out the window once he started to understand somebody that cared about him is in trouble. and it was amazing. Then we get the intro to Arima coming in against Eto, and Arima for the motherfucking win. Those action sequences, which is hype as fuck, the way they did them. Just Arima coming in and showing this boss-like status, and Arima is supposedly, you know, a normal human being, but the way he fucking handles, like, how does one motherfucker handle the one-eyed owl by himself? That is when you know a motherfucker is a boss, when by himself he's single-handedly handling the one-eyed. So, Arima versus Eto, amazing action sequence, just kind of building yet again on the legacy of Arima and how much of a fucking boss he is, and honestly, it was dope as shit. And to boot, it just shows, like, it wasn't just all hype, it wasn't just all like, oh yeah, Arima's a shit, with no actual showcasing. He took the fucking one-eye's arm. He took Eto's arm. Although if you notice, I guess there's a difference between when Eto is in that crazy state and just in her normal state, because she seemingly had both her arms back when she went back into her regular state. So that's kind of interesting to look at what's the change or whatever. I don't know if that's an entirely different body, if that's not an actual body. That was a little bit weird. And I don't know if it was set up for another season, set up for the next and final episode or what, because again, compared to what I know from the manga, I don't know what they're planning on doing after the season. But when Eto dipped and took Yoshimura with her, I was like, yeah, this is either a huge setup for some other time or next episode we're going to see something. But just overall, it showcased a little bit more of, I don't know, a sick and twisted bond that at the very least she has in her mind, or maybe it's hatred and it's just like, I'm going to drag this motherfucker for the sake of it. And the Amon versus Kaneki, very deep as far as, like, it reminds me a little bit of the Shinohara and Yoshimura relationship, except they've had a little bit more history because of the prior encounter that they had and kind of how they changed each other, especially how Kaneki changed Amon into thinking, wow, are all ghouls not bad? Like, can there actually be some decent ghouls out there? This guy's trying to change things. So when they're having their clash and when he respected him enough, that just gave me goosebumps in general. And I think that was very nicely done. The fact that he changed him so much and he had such a strong impact, and he's like, my name is Amon, and if we were under different circumstances, we might have been friends, but it has to go down this way. And it was kind of making me wonder. I honestly think when they were fighting, Kaneki was trying to defeat him, but the inner ghoul side of him was trying to kill him. So Kaneki was having internal struggles with trying to stop himself from killing Amon, and at the same time trying to, defeat Amon. So a lot on his plate, but Amon single-handedly lost that one. Yeah, okay, terrible joke. I don't give a fuck. That shit had to go. To be honest with you, in the manga, I was more so screaming at him, you're a pussy, than in the anime, and I'm referring to Takizawa when he was going up against, was it Taratara or Noro, or I think both of them. I think first it was Taratara, and he was crying there, whatever. The anime actually made me feel a little bit more bad for him. I don't know, it's just from what he was writing, the letter and everything, and then in this one, just to feel his voice actor and everything just kind of really put me into where I was like, okay, I kind of feel bad for him. I understand what the fuck he's going through. In the manga, I was like, you're a pussy. You're a fucking piece of shit. But he's all alone there, and he has these two motherfuckers. Well, one, but then the other motherfucker, and it's like, damn, seems as though he's dead. Either that or he has a tragic fucking future ahead of him of being a cripple or something. Yeah, I won't elaborate any further on that one. And there was no way around Kaneki defeating Amon. Going real quickly back to that, there was no way around it, because at the end of the day, a black-haired Kaneki was able to kind of best him prior to this one. Then white-haired Kaneki, with all the development and advancement he's had, should have been able to wax him. Yeah, he got a couple hits in, which showed that Amon is, he's progressed a little bit as well, but Kaneki was just on a whole other level than what he used to be. And I mean, at the end of the day, he did get injured in the process, which kind of makes him a little bit less than what he should be, but ultimately still, yeah, Kaneki should have had that in the bag. So no questions asked regarding that battle, and that was another epic battle as well. Kind of gave a little bit more than just a clash between Inspector and Ghoul. There was a little bit more. There was a whole goal behind it, and once again, like I've said in a previous review, it's just different routes that they've taken to get to that goal. The Toka running scenes is all build up. I don't know what's going to happen with Toka when it's all said and done, but something big is going to happen with Toka this running. And again, like I said, if it's going to be her death, then Sui Shida, you're a cruel motherfucker. I love Toka. I love Toka. Don't do it, bro. Please. Is it just me, or Hide? I know he's supposed to have some sort of relevance to like Kaneki and everything, but honestly, when I see him, he is literally the word irrelevant walking on screen. Because every time I see him, it's just like, okay, he's Kaneki's friend, but he just didn't have the impact that he should have had in order to play this vital role that they're trying to build him up into. And well, at the end of the episode, or not the end of the episode, but towards the end of the episode, whatever, where he's there with Kaneki and Teiku, it's going a different route than the manga, so maybe they could play it off a little bit better, or I don't know if they'll play it off a little bit better than what happened in the manga, but I will say that maybe it could be a little bit more interesting. Maybe it could make a little more sense with Hide's character, what it's been built up until this point. But yeah, Hide, I'm not fond of the character, and I don't see what he's going to be able to do, because again, it's a little bit different than what's happened in the manga, so just gotta wait and see what Mr. Irrelevant has to say. And then last but not least, hi Dad! Fucking love that ending, honestly, this episode. As a fan, as a critic as well, I would honestly say 9.5 out of 10. I think the art was really one of the only things that was stopping it. The art kind of wasn't at the level I think it should have been. But aside from that, fan put it into effect, because my reviews is not only the critical aspects of it, but as a fan as well. I love the living fuck out of this episode. Favorite episode of Tokyo Ghoul Route A, and just an amazing episode overall. Beautiful. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode, everything that I talked about. What did you think about it? The fights, the battles, the actions. Did you feel it was just the best episode of Tokyo Ghoul Route A? And what do you think is going to happen with Hide and Kaneki? Takizawa, completely dead. What's going on with that? One-eyed. So much shit happened in this episode. So much to talk about. Arima, how do you feel about that? Amon, is he dead or alive? Because his arm was the only thing left there. So, what the fuck? Like, insanity! And your world also the episode, but that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. So the finale of Tokyo Ghoul Route A has arrived. Now there's a couple things I want to talk about. Let me talk about some of the positives. For starters, that Unravel remake or whatever was amazing. That little solo vocalist was really, really good. That was probably one of the highlights of the entirety of the episode. The art looked beautiful as well, and some of the scenes or whatever looked kind of cool, whatever. But in comparison to the manga, and the reason why I'm doing this, because normally I mention them, but I don't really like to do it, but the ending, this episode, whatever, it was alright. It was alright to good. It was, it was a decent ending. But in comparison to what they did in this manga right here, this bad boy, it doesn't. Honestly, like, the ending of here, it was decent. It kind of made me give a little bit more of a fuck about Hide than I ever did, because I never cared about him. I've said it in previous reviews, so it made him a little bit more relevant. The whole Toka thing was done nicely as well. There were some decent things to it, but, like, for starters, what was up with Kaneki walking with Hide for like 5 minutes? And I get where they were going with it. They were trying to be symbolic. They were trying to showcase change and everything, with constantly looking at his hair going from black to white or whatever. It was all trying to be very symbolic with the symbolism and whatnot. But in comparison to what this, like, I will tell you right now, go read the manga. Go read the 14 volumes and then go read Tokyo Ghoul Re, because unless, which they were kind of hinting that they might do a season 3. For those that are wondering, is there going to be a season 3? There might be. There might be. Not now, but maybe within a year. Maybe a year or two or whatever. Once there's enough material from Tokyo Ghoul Re for them to do one, we might get a season 3 or whatever. But honestly, the ending with the cliffhanger of whether or not Ken Kaneki is dead was just done a hell of a lot better, the way it was handled in here than it was in there. Like, Arima looked like a beast, and the shit that goes down in here, you don't even get to see in the anime. And again, I think that's partially due to them rushing things and whatnot. So for starters, in the beginning with Hide talking to Kaneki, which it was like a little bit, trying to be a little bit more intimate, these friends of how it all began and how it's all ending and whatnot. Why didn't Kaneki, the entire time they were there, realize that blood is gushing out of this dude and, like, try and grab him and save him or whatever? It's just there, like, he's a ghoul, so he can smell that shit, and he probably get extra hungry or whatever, just, hearing that and smelling that or whatever. And he's just kind of like, yo, you're my friend and you're bleeding out, but I can't tell, and I'm just going to talk to you. So I was kind of like, what the fuck? And it was decent, like, the way they were doing it, as far as, like, trying to bring how it all began to where it's at now and how they've changed and everything. But it just felt like, why doesn't he fucking realize that he's dying there? I get it that it's dark or whatever, but you have ears and you have a nose and you're a ghoul and he's a human and he has human blood dripping out of him. So, and I think the way they handled the whole Hide thing as well, with him not being there, because I'm trying to be very fair with this one, like, Hide not being around or whatever, it was because he was trying to do his thing because he felt like an outcast and he wanted to be a part of them, so he was going every which way to become a part of what was going on. So it kind of made a little bit more up for the fact that Hide wasn't really around, and it's kind of like, it was always saying, yeah, this is my best friend, this and that, but we never got to see it in action, like them actually being best friends since the beginning, pretty much. So them bringing that back where it's kind of like, yeah, I knew all along and I just wanted to be a part of it, makes a little bit more like he was trying to go his own route to be back in Kaneki's life. But yet again, the scene with him carrying him, while it looked gorgeous, the art looked beautiful, the animation was really good as well. That scene just was so long of him holding him, walking, and all the soldiers and troops looking at him. It was kind of like, yeah, why is this going on for so long? And yet again, that unravel theme, just saying, that was the best part of it. Like, the unravel thing with the slow walking, whatever, it was supposed to mesh well, and it felt good, but it just felt like, I think they went too artsy. Honestly, they went too artsy in sacrificing the exposition of everything that's going on, and just kind of like trying to make you, well, assume, okay, this is what's happening, and this is what's about to happen, whatever. And to a certain degree, leaving it vague is good, but I don't know. And honestly, I would have liked to see Ken Kaneki versus Arima, regardless of what happened, because again, we're under the assumption that he's dead at this particular point at the end of the episode, because you just see the sword on the ground and Arima standing there, and Kaneki's not. But yeah, they should have showed something. They should have showed a little bit more of actually what went down. You can assume it was a massacre, but that's all you can really do is assume. And I think the best part of everyone, like, you know, everyone had tragedy except Toka, and I think she was the one that truly deserved to not be in tragedy, because she wanted a normal life, and that's all she ever tried for, and Yomo made sure that that happened. So I guess out of everybody's tragic, you know, endings and whatnot, she didn't have to, you know, suffer from that, and that's where her character was built up. So if Rude did any justice for her character, it was Toka. But with all that being said, for an ending, again, and I'm talking about it because not only just comparing it to the manga, just on its own, it was still an alright to good, you know, ending, but it should have just been so much more, especially with everything that's been built up and what Sui Ishida did in this final volume. Like, this final volume, I tell you, this final volume is insane. I was depressed when I finished this. With this, I'm just kind of like, maybe they'll do Tokyo Ghoul Re Season 3 some given point, but yeah. So I guess I was just underwhelmed with this ending. It wasn't that it was a bad ending. It was alright, but it just could have been so much more. That's what I'm trying to say with this final review. I still love Tokyo Ghoul. I still love the anime. Still love the manga to death. But that's where I stand with the finale. Let me know what you guys think. I love to hear feedback and opinions. Do you enjoy the finale? Did you think it was really good? If you're a manga reader, how did you feel in comparison to the manga and the way it was done? Do you think that it was too vague? What about the walking? Like, what is your opinion on the finale of, you know, Tokyo Ghoul Rude? And do you think the way it was done that we'll eventually, within a year or two, get Tokyo Ghoul Season 3 Re? And do you think at the end of this one, Ken Kaneki was dead or what? And your overall thoughts of Rude as a whole. As a whole, Rude was a pretty damn enjoyable ride. It wasn't like the same vibe I got from Season 1. They definitely changed a lot of things, but still, nonetheless, it was pretty fucking awesome. And some of the action scenes were epic as hell. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And hopefully I see you guys on my Tokyo Ghoul Re manga chapter reviews. Oshi e te o.